everyone. A very good morning to you all. Welcome to the first lecture of Advanced Financial Management paper for June. We are going to study along, and this is your tutor, Anushka Jain. I am a Chartered Accountant India and also an ACCA affiliate. I qualified as a CA in 2017 and as an ACCA in 2019. I have been coaching students for the last 2.5 years now. And so in my ACCA journey, I got a world rank 2 and all India rank 1 in the advanced financial management paper. So you should definitely be rest assured that you are in the right hands and you will get all that assistance and support you need to get a rank for yourself. Okay. So I will want a small introduction about each one of you. And for that, I'll also let you know that I am working as a business finance partner in Flipkart for last 1.5 years now, and I have more than 6 years of overall work experience. So when we are studying along, you will see a lot of examples, a lot of practical examples, which will help you, get that practical exposure alongside the knowledge which we are going to share in the classes. Okay. And yes, so we have this chat box functionality. You can just click on the chat button and whatever query you have, please feel free to share it in the chat box. I will address all of them right away. And you can keep it as an open channel for communication. If you're not still understanding, please feel free. Don't shy away thinking that is that a silly doubt or something. It's going to be all right. Okay. So Ekta has got a first doubt, and that's, is this subject easy or tough? The subject is tough, but that's my task to make it easy for you all. Okay. So I'll have a quick round of introduction from you, and then I'll guide you accordingly, to understand you better, how I would have to guide you and everything. So please start off one by one and use the chat box functionality. Type in what you are doing in your current, professional journey. If you're working or if you're just studying, let me know what all papers you have covered, or if any one of you have taken other classes from me earlier. So because with VGLD, I teach the business technology paper at the knowledge level, performance management paper at the skills level, and advanced performance management and advanced financial management at the strategic professional level. So just let me know what your journey for ACCA has been, if you're qualified as CA, CS, anything, or it's like your first attempt as in a professional qualification. Please type in your introduction, I'll read it and then be able to understand how the quorum is like. I would request everyone to please type in. Where are you from? And where are you working if you're working? What your qualification is? How your ACCA journey has been? Is this your first paper, or you have attempted other papers or maybe passed them or not passed them? Howsoever it is, please just let me know. It will help me to understand you better. Shiva from Bangalore, I have completed CMA and doing job in Extn. Okay. Ekta is a CA and CS by qualification and presently not working, but she has cleared SBR and SBL. So you have pretty much an experience of the ACCA strategic professional papers. Good. Manan says, Manan from Delhi, I have been a chartered accountant for the past 11 years and currently working under my own practice. That's very interesting to know, Manan. So I'd also want to understand from each one of you, what made you take up ACCA? Like, what was that driving factor for each one of you? Akash from Delhi, 9 paper exemption. in the fundamental and skill level when I was pursuing my graduation and professional paper and done with SBR and AAA. Currently not working. All right. Aishwarya is from Chennai and she's a CA and working in Oracle. Great. Superb, everyone. So it's really interesting to know that Jyoti is from Mumbai, working in Accenture, 7th paper in ACCA, graduated in 2015. All right. Sai says from Chennai, chartered accountant, currently working in Deloitte. This is my first ACCA paper. So I understand. Okay, great. I understand. So you want to restart your career. You're currently not working, right, Ekta, if I remember it correctly? Yes. It's a good decision. It's, ACCA today is being recognized at par with CA. And it's giving, it's opening doors to a whole lot of opportunities everywhere, right? So just 1 second, yeah. So it is definitely a good decision for your career perspective when you have international exposure and you're working in big fours or MNCs particularly. You get an edge over those who are just CA because you have hands-on experience in IFRS, the international financial practices, international laws and audit practices. So definitely it gives you an edge over the others. Okay. So Manan says, post-COVID things haven't been going smoothly with minimal expansion. So I'm currently going through a switch from my practice to a job. And that's the reason I've applied for ACCA as I want to work outside India. A perfect choice, Manan, because ACCA is recognized in 189 countries in the world. And the jobs are not far away from your reach. Because you have ACCA jobs portal. How many of you are aware about the jobs portal of ACCA? How many of you are aware? Jyoti says yes, she's aware. Akash is also aware. Okay, Manan is not. Ekta knows, but she hasn't tried. Okay. So there is a portal, jobs.accaclassesglobal.com, whereby you get jobs country specific, so I'll just show it to you briefly, so that you also get to see it hands-on. Yeah. So jobs.accaclassesglobal.com. Okay, this is the portal. And here you can have jobs by countries and continents like Middle East, UK, Europe, then Asia, China, America, Africa. In digital is like a work from home opportunity and internships. So it's not like just you have to qualify to get a job internationally. You can start off immediately with a few papers. Once you've qualified the knowledge level papers, you are eligible to start off your internships also. So since most of you are qualified already, maybe it's CA, CS, CMA, I believe you already have those exemptions. You can start looking up jobs here. You can apply as ACCA students also. Okay, so this is the portal. Now, if I, let's say, want to apply in the Middle East. Okay, if I want to apply in the Middle East, I click on this. And then there is further classification of which country you want to work in. Is it Abu Dhabi, Dubai? All of these countries are mentioned here. If you want to work in Europe, just go back and click here. You'll get all the countries mentioned here. So see, number of jobs which are listed. This number which you are seeing now, Albania 5, Luxembourg 280, Poland 940. What does it mean? There are 940 jobs for ACCA in Poland. And these jobs are not like old aged jobs. These get refreshed daily. Okay. So like if I go there, like this, it is mentioned. So you have an opening in Accenture in Germany, like in Poland, right? So just view details. If it is fine for you, whatever areas you want to work in, it's that simple. You don't have to, create accounts in country specific job searching websites. You have ACCS supporting you in every phase of your journey, right? So in the very first class, I'm telling you about this, that you have a world open for you. You can apply anywhere you want to. You can start internships, and definitely this will give you an edge when you start applying in a real-time basis. But again, all of this has to be done, but priority should be studies first, because once you have completed your qualification, then definitely it will be a better, the opportunities will be better for you. So focus should always be on studies first, right? And jobs, you can just what do I say, you can keep yourself aware of the type of jobs that are being generated in the portal. So yes, you have an idea where you want to go in the future, right? So that approach can be adopted. So I've showed you the jobs portal which is available for ACCS, right? So on that note, let's begin the subject, which is advanced financial management paper. And this is just going to be an introductory deck where I'm going to tell you about the paper, how we are going to study, and I'll give you a walkthrough of the real exam. Okay. One thing, please please understand that it's going to be a very interactive session. So I would really appreciate if you make use of the chat box functionality as much as possible. When you have even the smallest of doubts, ma'am, please pause here. I want to, maybe you can explain again. That's all available. You are, attending the live classes. You should be making best use of it. Otherwise, if you're not making use of the chat box functionality, you would have watched the recorded lectures as well. But if you are taking that effort to watch the live classes, make best use of it, feel free to ask me questions. You'll realize it with more time passing, that how easy it's going to be, interacting with me, getting your doubts resolved, and not just like for subject specific. If you have queries with respect to overall ACCA scheme, because I've taught a lot of students in those 2.5 years, and a lot of students, they keep in contact with me. Even today, ma'am, I studied ACCA, AFM from you in this particular month, and now I'm just deciding which paper to take up next. So that type of interaction and connection I want with each one of you. I see that none of you are my old students. So since it's a new relationship, I would request that you also harbor that in your mind, that it's going to be an easygoing class with a lot of to and fro in communication, so that you feel at ease. Okay, so the chat box functionality is available, and don't think that my doubt is silly. I should not be asking this. I should be knowing this already. I don't know. Don't think all of that. Make your life simple. You'll feel at ease, right? So, and yeah, of course, if you feel that a particular topic I have covered and you could not follow, okay, just let me know. I will repeat the concept again for you. And you want me to go a little slow. Sometimes I automatically reduce my speed when the topic is difficult. So even if that requires more slowing down, please feel free that, ma'am, I'm not able to follow with this speed. Please help me understand more slowly. It's available for you. Okay, so let's begin with the introduction slides. Okay, so what is the overall aim of the syllabus? Okay, before that, I want to tell you one important thing. So in our classes, in the slides, we are going to cover the entire workbook. Okay, so wherever you will see, the content is from BPP's workbook. So you need not purchase the BPP workbook, but you need to purchase the BPP practice and revision kit, which we call as PR kit. So there are, mostly two providers of books publications which are used for ACCA qualification. One is BPP and another is Kaplan. In our classes, for all practical purposes, we are going to be using BPP modules. So make sure you are purchasing the latest version, which is applicable for June 23 attempt. Okay, and workbook, as I said, we will be covering in the class, all the examples, everything will get covered here. The only thing which you need to buy would be the PR kit, because I will be giving homeworks from there. Are you able to follow me? Please let me know. BPP workbook we are going to cover in its entirety in the class, and BPP PR kit is what you'll have to buy for yourself. All right. Great, that since you have purchased, now you can follow along the questions and I give them for homework. Great, Ekta. Okay, so overall aim of the syllabus, I'll just write it in the chat box also. BPP practice and revision kit. This is what you have to buy. Everyone, please do buy it. Okay, which is applicable for your attempt, that is in June 23. Okay, so what is the overall aim of the syllabus? The aim of this exam is to examine your skills and exercising of professional judgment, keeping yourselves in the shoes of like a CFO. If any one of you who has attempted any ACCA paper, you will know this. It's not very like in CA what happens now, since I'm both a CA and a ACCA, I know the difference. In CA, what happens, you have a very methodical questions, right? This particular company is doing this, this, and all the calculations have to be done. So it's in financials, the strategic financial management paper of CA or the financial management paper, they are completely practical. And the theory questions are given separately, where you just have to write theory. Do you agree? Those of you who have done CA, CMA or CS, all these financial papers are either questions in those papers are either completely practical or they're completely theory. Correct? But in ACCA, the difference is one question, it will give you a scenario. The length of the questions are also very long. I'll show you them today itself, just to give you a feeler of how the questions are going to look like. So the questions are pretty long. They give you a scenario that this is a company, and this is what it does. You are this, the CEO is saying this, and accordingly you have to give your feedback. Okay. So that's how it goes. And when you are put in that scenario, you have to give advice as that senior professional. Okay, like as if you are the CFO and you have to suggest what you would give as a suggestion, like if this company is going through a particular downturn, or it is evaluating the investment in a new company or in a new project, how will you evaluate as the CFO? Or maybe you are an advisor to the CFO. Okay, so that is the overall aim of the syllabus, to make you accustomed to the process whereby you are a financial advisor of the company, or maybe you're like a CFO and taking or recommending decisions concerning the financial management of the organization. Okay, so that is the level of preparedness and commercial knowledge, commercial awareness will be expected out of you. Okay, what is the brought forward knowledge you need? Brought forward knowledge is of the financial management paper, which is in the skills level. Even if you have not come through the knowledge and skills level, it's all right. In my approach, what I do is I explain each one of these concepts in the class, so that no one feels left out that, ma'am, we have come from a different background, we are not able to, we don't have that brought forward knowledge. But for the sense of it, just be aware that there are a lot of topics which are common from the knowledge and skills level. Okay. Just 1 second, please hold on. I'll get back. Yes, so Ekta has a doubt that the duration of the class will be 4 hours. So Ekta will be having our classes from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. It's going to be a 4.5 hour class, but we'll have a 20-minute break in between. So like at 12 p.m., I normally tend to give a break, like not fixed. We'll just see the progress of the class, and the break would be of about 20 minutes. Is that all right? Okay. Yeah. So this is the broad forward knowledge I was talking about, that there will be a lot of concepts which have already been taught at the earlier levels of ACCA. But in our classes, we are going to make sure that I teach you as if all these concepts, as if you're learning it for the first time. So don't worry about that. All right. So this is the journey which normally, an ACCA student goes through if he's coming from the knowledge level. So the first paper is management accounting. Then comes financial management, then AFM and SBL. So those of you who have already attempted the SBL paper, there are a lot of cross references here. Not as much like, but the scenario analysis which you learn in the SBL paper, that will definitely help you in the AFM paper. Correct? So that is SBL and AFM's relationship, but it's a dotted line, not that relevant that you need to know SBL first to appear for the AFM paper, right? So the journey is like from MA, then comes FM, then comes AFM. There is a dotted line relationship between SBL and AFM. SBL has actually a relationship with all the papers at the strategic professional level, be it APM, be it AAA, all of these AFM or ATX, all of these papers, you will see drawing relationships with SBL. All right. So a few things which I expect from each one of you is that please be regular in the class. Okay. When you are regular, you're able to, understand things better. You can relate things. Because if you come once and then you're missing the next class and you come back again, you'll not be able to draw the bridge that gets built if you are attending regularly. So make sure you're attending the classes regularly. Even if you are not able to attend, you will try, please, you will try to, watch the recorded lectures. All right. The lectures will be available to you post the classes. And so we have weekend classes, right? Saturday and Sunday. So you will get the classes during the week. Make sure you have gone through them before you come for the next class. If you have missed, try to be regular, but I know there can be some unforeseen circumstances which are not in your control. If that happens, it's all right. Just make sure you are attending next class. Before you do that, you are going to make sure that you have watched the recorded lecture of the missed class. Okay. Then preferably use laptop while attending the classes. Okay. You are going to do a lot of calculations while we are studying. So I give a lot of practice questions which have to be solved in Excel. So if you're attending the classes on laptop, it will be easier for you. Correct? So preferably use laptop while you are attending the classes. Try to avoid using the phone, but if you're traveling, but you still want to attend the live class, make sure that's very limited, but because you'll be needing the laptop for calculations and stuff. So make sure you have it handy. Next, very, very important point. I hope all of you are aware that it's going to be a computer-based exam, right? So for how many of you, CBE, that is a computer-based exam, is the first-hand experience? You have not experienced any type of computer exam earlier. Anyone who has no experience of computer exam? Manan's first time. All right. What about others? Nagasai also says it's the first time. Ashwarya's first time, Sai's first time. All right. So we have a lot of first timers in the class. So for you all, it's like all the more important that you use laptops, and in that you are using MS Excel. I'll tell you why. Just give me one moment. Let me show you the ACCA practice platform. Achha, do one thing. Type this in your search bar on Google Chrome. Do it along with me. I'll show you something. ACCA practice platform. Please type it in the search bar and let me know when you are done. Open your Google Chrome and just let me know done that yes, you have opened your Google Chrome and typed this and come and you have come there. Manan says done. Others, please let me know when you're done. Okay, so I'll go along with you. I don't want to, leave you behind. Done, right? Now, this is the link which you're going to get. CBE practice platform. Okay, click on this. I'm so sorry, not this one. I think the link is embedded there. Come back. Just this one. First link is past exams and question practice. Click on this and scroll down, and you will see this link. Log in to the practice platform. Click on this and you will see a new tab now. Let me know when you have reached that new tab. This will show up. I'll wait for you all to confirm. I'll show you again. See what I've done. Yeah. You clicked on this now, ACCA practice platform. Then this was the first link, past exams and question practice. Go here, scroll down. You will see this. Log into the practice platform. Just click on that. Let me know when you are there. Only Manan and Munna have responded. You will see this screen. Yes. Okay. So on the screen, please enter your ACCA ID and password. It will be specifically for you. So type in your 7-digit ACCA ID and your password. Please let me know when you are done and then click on sign into my ACCA. Let me know when you are done now. This screen will open up, which is loading. Enter in your ACCA login ID and password. Why is everyone turned out to be so silent? Is it all right? Should I repeat the steps? Akash has logged in. What about others? So all of you have logged in, right? So now what you have to do, click on this part, Advanced Financial Management. Then click on ACCA Official Resources. And let me know when you're done. And then you will see this past exam library. Okay. Assign yourself this particular one. December 22, AFM December 22. It's showing me unassigned because it is, I have already assigned it to myself. Let me do it. This is how you will be seeing it. Click on assign. Okay. Then scroll down. Then you will come here. So there will be only one tab open for you if you have not opened other exams earlier. This will be the only tab which will be available to you. AFM past and practice exams. Okay. Click on this. This is how it will show you. AFM December 22. Please let me know if you have done, reached here. And then you click on start. For you, it will be showing a start. So click on start. Okay. No problem, Shiva. Let me repeat it for you. So you will log in here. Okay. And then you will see your a lot of subjects, all of the subjects are shown here. Then click on this Advanced Financial Management. Okay, Shiva. And then you click on ACCA Official Resources, Past Exam Library. And then you click on is AFM December 22. Okay. You click on assign. And then you go down. This will be available to you. Please let me know if you have reached till here. Done? No? You have reached? Now, when you click on start, this screen will come up or some instruction screen will come up. Reach till here, section A, it will show like this. Please let me know. Everyone, once you have reached this particular screen, let me know. Okay, others, please confirm. Done, right? Okay. So with this, you will see that this is how the layout of your exam is going to look like. Section A, and I'll come to the format later on, but the reason why I have brought you here is to show you how the questions look like. Okay. Click on next. And this is the question. Okay. So the reason, one moment. This is the response option which will be available to you. So the point where we started off was you need to use Excel in the classes, right? Your response options, have a look at that. Response option meaning where you're going to type your answers. Okay. So have a look. This is where you're going to do the calculations. It's a replica. I'll not say an exact copy, but a close match of Excel. Okay. So spreadsheet, you're going to mention, you're going to do all the calculations here. Like I'm doing random things right now. So, right, this is how your answer script is going to look like. Gone are those plain pages where you used to create tables and then perform calculations on a calculator and then input the numbers. Whatever you have to do it, you have to do it in the screen, right? So if I have to do a sum function, I can just, do it here in Excel rather than doing it on a calculator. Like I would not have, if I were to do 667 plus 550 plus 556, I would not be doing it on a calculator. I will be doing it right here. And that is the type of expertise you need to have now. Since most of you are qualified, I'm sure you have hands-on experience on Excel. It will not that be much of a challenge. But anyways, please understand that we are not going to use calculators anymore. There's a reason why. Because when you are writing your exam and you show the calculation, the flow of calculations, when you have shown it to the examiner, he is able to understand that yes, this person understands how the calculations have to be done. So I'll give you one example. Okay. So the question, the correct answer for this one was 650 and 56. Okay. I'm giving a very basic example right now, but you have shown this calculation. Okay. Although the number is incorrect, you have done 667 rather than 650. Although the number is incorrect, you will still get the marks. Partial marks you will get because you applied the formula correctly. You know the concept well. So that is why it is important to show the examiner the calculation. Don't have an approach that, I will do 667 plus 56 in the calculator and hard paste the number here, like 723. Don't do that. All the calculations have to be performed in Excel, and for that your speed in Excel should be like mind-blowing. Typing skills. So that is the reason I keep on telling that use Excel, use WordPad. So the other thing is similar to your Word document, word processor. So here you'll have to write the theory part of the answer, right? So make sure you work on your laptop so that your typing speed increases. You work on Excel so that you can use the formula well. Okay. That is how you will be like well prepared for the exam. Okay. No, Manan, you don't have to be aware of the hardcore Excel formulas like you are mentioning. You don't have to be aware of them. Whatever you need to be aware of, it will be told to you in the class. Okay, so we are going to learn like formulas for NPV, IRR, all of that. Whatever you need to know will be taught to you in the class. Like basic functions, I'm sure you'll be knowing like sum function, multiplication, how all of that has to be done by linking the cells. That basic awareness should be there. And what all advanced formula you need to know, I will be teaching you in the class. So don't have to worry about that. Okay. Ekta says emphasis should be more on theory or practical. Ekta, emphasis should be on both to pass the exam. Because the paper, let me show you one question. Okay, since we are here, I'll show you the paper also. Have a look at this. As before the paper, let me show you the type of requirements. What you have to write. What are the type of questions exactly? Okay. Explain the exposure Ponde company faces with respect to the falling sales revenue from Italy and suggest how this exposure could be managed. 6 marks. completely theory. You are explaining the exposure, whatever that is. We haven't gone to the specifics of the topic, so I'm not sure if you're able to relate to the question. But it's a completely theory question for 6 marks. Okay. And then look at this. Prepare a report for the board of directors of founder company, which calculates the amounts receivable in dollars from Lothal in 4 months' time, and blah, blah, blah. This is a calculation. Again, this is a calculation, calculates the interest return, and blah, blah, blah. Then, third one you see, comments on the results obtained in B1 and 2 and addresses the queries raised by the BOD with respect to alternative methods to hedge the receipt and the margin requirements. Okay, and this is not like a 2-mark question that, you know, the calculation is giving me this result over. The answer doesn't get over like that. You have to write it for 9 marks. So I hope you understand that knowing just theory or knowing just practical will not help you. You have to know both, because then only you'll be able to frame your answers properly. This is how, you know, it's a mixture. Calculative questions, then a theory question. Discuss if it would be beneficial for founder company to manage its financial risks and whether or not the company should communicate its risk management approach to the stakeholders. Again, a theory question. You have to discuss how it will manage the financial risk, and then this communication part. Right? So Sagar is saying, is this an overview class or will any topic be covered? So first we are going to cover the introductory class to make you, aware of what the AFM paper looks like, what all you will be learning in the journey. So for we have an introductory deck for that, and post that we have chapter 1 scheduled. We'll see on the progress of the class how much time we are left with, and then we'll be deciding. Okay. Sagar, any specific reason you want to know that? Akash says, what is there in the helper formula sheet? Okay, so that is a good news for you, Akash. It holds the good news. Let me show what is there. Click on this help and formula sheet. ECCA does not require you to memorize formulae. Okay. It knows that even as we professionals, we have access to Google. We can just Google the formula and get whatever we want. So they give you that in the formula sheet. The M&M model, it's a very complicated formula, but it's given to you. You're not supposed to memorize the formula. In CA, you have to memorize. I'm sure those of you who have studied the M&M model, you would have learned this difficult formula. But now you don't have to remember it. It will be available to you just at a click of a button. Help and formula sheet, M&M model, this is the formula. Then capital asset pricing model, formula is given to you. Asset beta formula, like, the most complicated of all. Have a look at this. That is also given to you. Then growth model, these are simple ones. WACC. WACC will not be following this formula. I'll show you a very simple approach. So this is given to you. Okay. Purchasing power parity, interest rate parity. Then MIRR, Black-Scholes pricing model. This complicated formula. Okay, one more good news. How many of you have struggled remembering the Black-Scholes pricing model? Tell me, how many of you dread at the sight of this formula? Please let me know. And then I will tell you about the beauty of ACCA body. How they have made the lives of students simpler. Have a look at this, normal logarithm and everything. So this Black-Scholes pricing model, it's very, very complicated. You have to use log and a lot of stuff to get the value of call and put. Okay. See, I'm telling you these things because a lot of you are already CA, so you have studied these things. But now I'll tell you that this Black-Scholes pricing model, if there is a question on this topic, you don't even have to apply that formula which they themselves have given. You will have a Black-Scholes pricing calculator given here. You just need to input the variables. You will directly get the value of call and put. since this particular question is not asking the Black-Scholes model concept, that is why they have not given you here. If there was a question which had asked this, I'll just try to search it for you. It's not in this attempt, I'm sure. Let me see any other attempt where this particular topic was tested. See, don't worry, I will again come back to these things when the topic is touched upon, but since we are having an overview class, I'm telling you about these. Let me see if there's a question where I can show you that Black-Scholes practice calculator. Unfortunately, this paper also doesn't have. Let me show you another one. March, June, September, let's try. Thankfully, we have it here. See, in all the other questions, we were having two response options, right? Word processor, spreadsheet. So this particular question, it tests the BSOP model. Look at this BSOP calculator. You just have to input the values here. Let us say I'm just putting random numbers, okay? Rate of interest is, let's say, 0.5. Time is 3 years. Standard deviation is 0.25. See, all these calculations, look at the formula which they have inbuilt for you in this spreadsheet. Look at this square root, normal log, then these, bracket putting, because I'll tell you one thing. So I have taught prior to this batches where this calculator was not available. And when ACCA, so this was done recently, okay, like I think 6 or 9 months back only, they have published this calculator. They have started giving this calculator in the exam. So I have also taught students whereby this calculator was not provided in the exam. And I have also taught students whereby this calculator is provided in the exam. And I'm telling you, students used to struggle with putting the brackets. Because look at the formula bar here and the type of number of brackets which are here. And I'm sure those of you who use Excel know the struggle of putting the brackets correctly. One wrong bracket and the entire answer would change. So many students, they were like, ma'am, we are not able to understand how to put the formula and everything. Although the formula bar, this formula sheet was available to them. Still they had, they used to undergo this struggle. Formula sheet. Although it is available to them here also, but still there was a struggle, calculation of D1, say number of brackets which you'll have to put to get the value correctly. But now ACCA has made the lives of students so much easier. You just need to put 5 values, and which also will be available to you in the question. You don't, most of the times it will be directly given to you. You just have to decipher where to put which value and all of these values. So the value of call is 10.7 and value of put is 0. Okay, without an exponential formula. See, all of that I used to teach students how to use exponential formula, how to use logarithm formula. But now all of that is not needed because ACCA will definitely provide you this calculator if a question is asking you about the BSOP model. Is that fine understanding? Are you able to follow? So Akash, since you asked, I've shown you the formula sheet also, whereby you will be given with the formula and about the BSOP calculator also. Okay, so Ekta, this tab, help tab. Okay, first of all, this BSOP calculator will be available to you only if the question is testing you for this model. Otherwise, they'll not give you unnecessarily. Okay, so definitely if you are given with this calculator, please understand that the basic model has been tested. And Ekta, for you, where is the help tab? Look here. Left hand side corner, bottom. Help public formula sheet. Got it? So when you click on this, you get the instructions also given, whatever is requirement, workspace. This is some knowledge which you will learn from me only in the class, during the classes, how to write answers and everything. Formula sheet I've just shown you. Exam instructions. The exam is going to be for 3 hours, 15 minutes, and all of that. Okay. So this is available. What is workspace help? Okay. Workspace help here is this entire space now where you're seeing the questions, you're seeing the response option. That is the workspace. Okay, this entire thing which you're seeing on your screen now, it's called the workspace. So that is what I've mentioned here. All workspace response options will be expert marked. So it means that workspace, whatever the response options are given in this workspace, will be marked by an examiner, expert. Okay. So let's come back to our slide. So this was what I was telling you, use MS Excel. So I hope now you understand the relevance of this statement more, because you yourself are going to solve in Excel and exam. So why not practice it from the very first day? So use MS Excel to perform all the calculations. No need to use any pen, paper, or calculator. Get rid of them. Smallest of calculations, get your hands, handy on Excel. Whatever calculations are to be done, do it on Excel. Okay. Next is attempt all the homework questions. So what the flow of homework questions is going to be like, we will be studying a few topics. So those of you who have the PR kit, they'll know this. So there is no, way. Some of the questions, basically, what I'm trying to say is that some of the questions, they test multiple topics. Some of them might test one question itself, might test chapter number 1. Some might test, that same question might test chapter number 7 also. So what I do, normally when we've completed a few chapters, like 2-3 chapters, I find out questions which are specific only for those chapters, and I will be giving them to you as homework. So make sure you do those homeworks on time. The reason being, if you have any doubts in those homework, you can ask it to me in the class itself, right? So your practice also happens, and if there is any doubt, you can ask it to me in the class, right? So follow the latest version of the book, because there was a change recently about the professional marks. I'm going to tell you about it, don't worry, but make sure you are having the latest version of the book. The format of the answers, that has changed recently. All right. So homework questions will be from the recent book. Make sure you attempt all of them before the next class. Next is what I've already told you, raise queries in the chat box whenever you are stuck on any point with specific emphasis on any. Don't feel afraid. What will others think? Just ask whatever you have in your mind. Conceptual clarity is extremely important. Why? Because there has never been any attempt in the history of ACC exams where we have seen a common question. You might have seen that in a lot of your other exams, but in ACCA, none of the questions they come common. Whatever comes will be something new. The concept obviously will remain the same. You have to calculate NPV, you have to calculate the value of merger and acquisition. All those concepts will remain the same. But, the combination of topics that are going to be tested, that might change. The way in which they have given the data, that might change. So having complete conceptual clarity is extremely important, because when you're conceptually clear, you can attempt any question which comes your way. Okay, so try to understand the concepts and then practice them, so that you are well versed not just with the conceptual clarity but also with the practice. Okay. So are you with me so far? Any doubts you have? Please feel free, like any basic doubt with respect to exam, ma'am, what will be given, what will not be given. So if you have anything in mind, let me know. Is that fine? Can I move to the next slide? Manan says, okay. Great. Then let's. So what happens is post every exam result now, ACCA publishes examiners' comments. And what are those examiners' comments? The examiners, when they check the papers of students, they find some points where all the students generally lack, with respect to that question, or be it general lack, which is observed in these students. So they share these examiners' comments, and it's available on the ACCA website. All right. So just let me show you a brief walkthrough of the ACCA website, because you're going to be using it. So accglobal.com. All right, accglobal.com. This is the website. And this is the relevant section for you students. Just hover over it. If you have not visited the website till now, please do. Okay. Hover over the students part, and then study support resources. Then you click on ACCA qualification. Then you select the paper, AFM. Okay. And then just look at all this resources which are available for you. So one of them is the examining team guidance, which I have covered in my slides. And another is examiners reports. So if I click on this, see, for all the papers like December, September, June, December 21, for all of these papers, you will find an examiner's report published along with the papers papers. The reason why they give this is because they want the new students to learn from the mistakes of the previous students. What is the comment of the examiner? What did the student lack? How had he not prepared enough? All of those things are mentioned in a lot of details here. You can go through it in your free time. Okay, let me also show it to you once. This is the type. It's given in a lot of detailed manner. See, 20-page examiner's report, general comments. Then first question was, which we are also referring to, founder company, format of the question. So very detailed examiner's comments are available for each paper. I'm just, making you apprised of all the things which are available at your disposal. Use it wisely, whatever you need. When you read through this examiner's comments, you will realize the type of mistakes these students made when they were solving this paper. Okay. So what I'm trying to show you in the slide here is the examining team's general comments. What are the common things which the examining team mentions that, this is the point which, the students should have paid attention to. So the first one is know your stuff. What it means is you should be aware of the entire AFM syllabus. One second, let me highlight this. The next few slides are very, very important, to understand what exactly you should be doing in the exam. So, knowledge of the entire AFM syllabus. Yeah. So you should have a sound knowledge of the entire AFM syllabus. I have seen a lot of students coming to me, ma'am, just a week before the exam. Ma'am, we have not been able to study enough. Can you tell me few important chapters which I can study and pass? And I tell them there is nothing important or not important in ACCA papers. All of the concepts are equally testable in exams. So I cannot tell you that this is an important topic and this is not. So you should have knowledge of the entire AFM syllabus. Okay. Augment studying the manuals with wider reading of the financial press, financial textbooks, articles in student accountant and financial journals. Very, very important out of this is the student accountant. So come back here where I had led you, on the ACCA practice lab this. So here, so if you hover over this now, students, and then you go on student accountant. It's a magazine for ACCA students. You can download their app. Okay, download their app from this link on your mobile phone, and you get access to their ebook version of the journal, or you can say e-magazine. It covers few few pages, updates in the financial world, ACCA relevant topics, things not mandatory, but like when you scroll through news you become aware. So when you scroll through financial news, you become financially aware. So when you're just doing pastime, you're not doing anything important and you're just browsing social media or something, why not browse this app? Okay, student accountant app, download that, and go through the versions. Every month I believe they give this new version. Like when I was a student, I have gone through that, and it might not give you like a direct question in an exam, but a topic which is developing in which is a hot topic in the financial market, you might see a version of it in the exam. Because if you go through ACCA papers, you will see they are very, very practical. So if when there was COVID, so there were questions with respect to a pandemic in the exams. So when there was Brexit, it happened years back, there were questions on Brexit in the exam. So they ensure that yes, the students are up to date with whatever is happening in the world, and they try to make sure that even the exams are updated with that. All right, so make sure whenever you're doing some random browsing, you can download this app and browse through this student accountant app. Okay, coming back, so make yourself accustomed to this website, accacglobal.com, the student section particularly, not others, not relevant for you right away. But at least the student section, you should be aware of what all resources are available for your consumption. So first is you should have a sound, deep knowledge of the entire AFM syllabus. Second is you should expect and be prepared for questions from a range of syllabus areas and more than one area that can get tested in a single question. So as I have told you earlier, in AFM, like in any strategic professional paper, multiple concepts. When I was telling you about homework also, I told you, right? Multiple chapters can get tested in one question. So you have to be prepared for it. Don't think that if this is an NPV question, it will only test about NPV. It can test about interest rate collars also. So more than one area can get tested in a single question. So be prepared for questions that require to consider a number of areas of syllabus within one question. So with practice, you will get used to it. So that is where practicing the homework question will come handy for you. So the first comment which the examining team has given is know your stuff. All right. Next is question practice. Very, very important. This I'm going to tell you towards the later part of our classes. Practice exam questions under exam conditions. You are going to hear this again from me towards the end of our classes, like 2.5 months later. But when you're done with the syllabus, practice the mock exams as if you are going to get 3 or 15 minutes for the exam. You sit alone in a room, lock it, no disturbance, sit with your laptop or computer, practice that mock exam as if you are in an exam center. Okay, and you have to complete that paper in that timed manner, 3 or 15 minutes. You have to write only as much as possible. You can't take leisure time break out of that time. No, just as if you are writing an exam, you write those mock exams. When you do that, and I will be telling you later that minimum 2 to 3 mock exams are a must before you go for a computer-based exam. The reason being, all your life you have written pen and paper exams. When you're going for a computer-based exam, it's all the more important that you are like handy with how you're going to write answers in the answer script and everything. So that is why I tell my students that at least 2 to 3 mock exams before your exam, real exam basically, you should be doing to get the maximum comfort and confidence for the real exam. Okay, so work through the past exam questions under exam conditions and to time. That was for mock exam. Similar thing for the practice questions also, which I will be giving to you as homework, or like during the class also we practice a lot. So we will be doing it in a timed manner. So if a question is of 25 marks, we'll come to how many minutes should be allotted to that. We'll come to that, but let us say that is 49 minutes. For a 25 mark questions, you have 49 minutes. When you're practicing also, make sure you are adhering to those timelines. You sit and practice in one go. From the very first day, if you're disciplined, your brain will get trained to solve those questions in that timed manner. Whenever you practice as if you are in a timed condition. Think about how you would write your answers, because concepts and everything you will learn in the class. What you will be doing alone at home is the application part of it. So that also happens in the exam also, no? Like before you go for the exam, you know all the concepts. It's just that you have to apply those concepts in the exam. Similarly, is what is going to happen when you're practicing normal questions also, like the homework questions and everything. So time it properly, that yes, this is a 25 mark question. I have to complete it in 49 minutes. All right. So doing past questions will help you build your speed and efficiency. Like I've been telling you, it will help you build your speed and efficiency in answering questions and help you build knowledge of how to frame your answers relevant to the scenario in the question. So I'll show you a question for the company which we were going through. The question will have a lot of situations. A scenario will be given to you that the company is going through this and that. So when you practice a lot, you get used to these scenarios also, that the company is going through at this phase and everything. So that will come with more and more of practice, right? Third one is address the requirement and scenario. Extremely important for all the ACCA exams, like literally all the ACCA exams. Students, they, what they do. Let me come back to the question paper, all right? I showed you the requirements part, right? It's a different question. Anyways, whatever question it is. So para fuels company, all right? And you will see these requirements. This is one question, okay? So one question is a 50 marks, yes. One scenario, and then there are sub parts to it. So you will see that there are a lot of questions, and each one of the questions starts with one verb. I have put in slides for each one of these verbs also. Okay, so this particular question says, explain why parafuels might do this. All right. So what students do, they will write what they know. They'll not even address the requirements. Just to fill the pages and everything, they will just write whatever they know. Sometimes, like when they genuinely not know, sometimes even when they know what the question was, asking, just to fill up the spaces and everything, they'll start writing random things. Don't do that mistake. Address the requirement properly. What has been asked? If it is asking you why the sun is round, don't answer why the sun is not, why the moon is round. Students, they do this mistake. I know it might sound very, very immature of students right now, but by the time the syllabus gets over, you will realize that these general things will start coming to your mind also. But be very specific to the requirement, that if the question is asking me to write why parafuels might include the value of the potential offer, then only that much part you will be answering. Writing irrelevant stuff will not fetch you marks. Okay. The reason why I'm telling you this is the examining team, they are given with a lot of, it's a proper scheme which is given to them, marking scheme, that if a student is writing this point in their answer, give them 1 mark. Okay, and I'm not just telling you randomly, I'll just show it to you how that marking scheme also looks like. Okay. Where do I go? Yeah. So let me close this. So the examining team, they are given with this, that, if the student is writing this point, give him 1 mark, give him 2 marks. That level of breaking down of the total marks is done for you. So when I say you will get step marks, oh my God, just 1 second. That you will get these step marks. I'll show you how it's available for the examiner to give you those marks. Look at this. Let me make it full screen. I know the text would be seeming very small to but it doesn't get zoomed in. So just bear with me for this. But I hope you're getting an idea. You all can see this, okay, on your practice platform also. This is the type of marking scheme which the examiner uses when he allots marks to you. Okay. Explanation of exposure, give him 3 marks. So the first question, Ponder Company, part of it was for 6 marks, right? If you remember. And then second part was suggestions of how exposure could be managed. So it was just one statement. It was separated by an and. So you will see that both of those parts of the question, they carry 3 and 3 marks each. So if you have answered only the second part correctly, you will get these 3 marks. Okay. Then calculation part also. See, OTC forward rate, if you have calculated correctly, they'll give you 2 marks. Dollar receipt using OTC forward, if you have calculated that value correctly, you will get 1 mark. Call option, if you could decide that it is going to be a call option, not a put option, still just the decision itself will give you 1 mark. That in this situation you have to use a call and not a put, you will get the mark. Even though you would have done some absolutely wrong calculation later on, they will still give you mark just to know, just for making the right mention that yes, it is going to be a call option. So are you getting clarity of how you are going to be judged, what the question paper is going to look like, how you are going to be judged? The reason why I'm telling you all of this in the first class is so that when we begin our curriculum, you know how you have to be, where you have to go, how you have to write your answers. So are you able to follow me? Any doubt, guys, please let me know, okay? With me so far, any doubts? You want me to show you something else? It will be available to you, okay, for all the questions it's given. See, I just came to the presentation mode with this. Manan says no doubt as of now. Others, are you able to follow me? Or is it seeming like a big world out there and you're not aware of anything? No doubt. Okay. See, I'll tell you, my effort is to tell you each and everything which is relevant for you. And I'll guide you also that this is a lot, I mean, more relevant. Like I told you now, that student accountant is not like 100% must. But I'll also tell you that this is a must. Don't miss this. So take those advices as if a friend is guiding you that, this is the right thing to do. That please follow these things. When you're aware about things, it's on you to choose whether or not you want to do it. But that awareness has to be there. If I don't tell you only that this marking scheme is also visible to the students, you will never know how you're going to be marked. But now when you don't know that this marking scheme is available, you will know how you're going to be evaluated. You will judge yourself better. You will prepare yourself better. Correct? So let's come back here. Why I showed you this was the requirement. The third comment by the examiner is that you address the requirement and scenario. So don't do the mistake of writing vague things in exam. It will not get you marks. They have a very clear-cut scheme that if a student is writing this, give him this much mark. If what you are writing is not covered in the marking scheme, they will give you 0 marks only for that. Okay. So your answer must relate to the scenario in question. Context is very important for higher level exams. General answers will gain fewer or even no marks. You must relate to the scenario. If the question is, pertaining to a particular concept, you should just relate the answer to that scenario only. So relate to the scenario. Next, in your exams, good time management techniques and habits are essential in ensuring success. Make sure that you are able to answer all parts of each question. Very, very important. First is good time management. Okay. And second is this: answer all parts of each question. There are two interpretations of this statement. First one is, when I showed you that founder company question, what were the two parts? There was just one question: explain the exposure and then suggest how this exposure can be managed. Only one statement, but it had two parts of it. And see, you could see that in the marking scheme also. First part, explanation of the exposure, 3 marks, and then how to manage that exposure, 3 marks. Another common error which the students do is that they will just answer the first part, explain the exposure. They'll not even care about what is written after and, which should not be the approach. Okay. So answer all parts of each question. Okay. Another interpretation of it is, your effort should be to write and complete the entire paper. It's going to be a 100-mark paper. Now remember what I'm going to say next. Your pass mark is 50. It is easier to get 50 marks out of a 90 to 100 attempted paper rather than getting 50 marks out of a 70-mark well-attempted paper. I hope you're getting the difference between the two. You have to get 50 marks to pass the exam. If you are not completing the paper, you think like, I'll just write what I know the best. That is going to be a problem for you. Because if you write, if you're attempting more questions, you are addressing to those more marks. So the probability of getting those 50 marks will be higher. So make sure you attempt all the questions, all the parts of each of the questions. Okay. I know if you are in contact with any of the students who has attempted AFM before, they will say that AFM is very lengthy. It's impossible to complete the paper. Some of them, they might have faced this because they were not able to manage time properly. but it's not impossible to complete the paper. So I'll tell you, when I attempted my AFM paper, I wrote for 96 marks. I also left out 4 marks. It's okay. 100% paper is like for the champions. But even when I wrote those 96 marks, I don't remember the actual marks I got, but I got that world rank. That's the type of efforts you have to put in to get that world rank or to get that passing marks. The first priority is getting the passing mark, and then if you're like superb and very intelligent, very smart, you can definitely, you will get the world rank also. So why not? And I'm telling you, getting a world rank is another experience altogether. When you are recognized on an international forum, you get accolades from senior most professionals of the ACCA fraternity. Nothing beats that. So please study hard. I will put in my 110% efforts with you. So just make sure you yourself are dedicated and aim for it. You all can do it. It's not impossible. It's not like I'm also super smart or something like that. I'm also an average student like you, but it's just the effort which makes all the difference. Okay. So yes, good time management is the key, and I'm going to tell you the keys to this good time management also. Okay, techniques and habits are essential in ensuring success. Make sure that you are able to answer all parts of each question and manage your time effectively so that you can make a reasonable attempt at each part of the question. Good time management skills are essential. Okay. Next is, often parts of a requirement may ask for more than one aspect. Make sure that you can answer and do answer everything each part of the requirement is asking you for. Both of them are related only. First one is telling you that you have to do time management. Second one is telling that you answer all the parts. So both of them are related. Then third is, make sure you answer the requirements correctly. Like I was telling you, writing vague things, general things. For example, if the question asks you to explain, I laid emphasis on those words, right, when I was showing the requirement from the past paper. Explain. It is not just enough to list things. You have to explain that. Explain the exposure properly. If the question asks you to assess, assess meaning, you have to give the pros and cons and everything. It's not enough just to explain. Explain is like giving what that definition type of a thing. But assess is to explain it, but also write about how it is beneficial in a scenario, how it is not beneficial in a scenario. All of that assessment has to be done, whether it is good or bad for the company. Okay. So whatever that question verb is, it's very important. Okay. So answer the requirement correctly. Very important. Answer the requirements correctly. Okay. Then next, communicate concisely. Communicate, because when you're writing your exam, you're basically communicating with the examiner, right? So for the written parts of any question, remember it is generally a mark for each relevant point. I'm going to tell you this when we practice questions also. When you are writing answers now, don't think just to increase the length of the answers, I'm going to write active voice and passive voice. Like, my name is Anushka, and full stop, people call me Anushka. And then I am called as Anushka by my friends. I can go on writing this way. You're just making a repetition and wasting your time. You'll not get marks. You'll get marks only for the one statement, my name is Anushka. That is correct. You'll get the mark. Don't think that you keep on increasing active voice, passive voice, different ways of writing the same thing. Don't do that. Some university exams, it works there, but in ACCA, it will not. So examiners team, they say that students follow this, just to increase the length of the answers, they write random things. Don't do it, all right? So repeating a point does not get you any marks. So avoid repetition. I just highlight that for you. So avoid repetition basically. Write only the relevant point and write it in a very, very concise and crisp way. You will learn that with me when we are studying, practicing questions directly. Next is, don't use incomplete sentences when making a point. Okay. it is an international paper. You are going to be writing in English. So your English should be absolutely very good. Know how to frame sentences, know how to make complete sentences. Because the examiner is not going to be evaluating you properly if you're not giving in the sense of what you're trying to say. So your sentences have to convey what you're thinking properly in good framed sentences. Okay, so that's what is written here. Don't use incomplete sentences. Write in good English. Okay, marks are awarded for complete points made in full sentences. Okay, because what happens, some students, they might know good English also. What they'll do is they'll start writing in bullet points as if they are preparing a presentation. You're not preparing a presentation here. You're writing a report to the board of directors. So you have to write in a prose style, not in bullet style. Okay. So marks are awarded for complete points made in full sentences. However, you can use bullet points and numbered paragraphs and headings when appropriate. Okay, when the question itself is telling you list down a few circumstances, then you can make use of bullet points or numbered paragraphs. But otherwise, your answer should be in prose style. Whatever points you are making, whatever it is, make sure your points are in complete sentences. Okay, so you have to develop and show that communication skill in your answers. Okay, next is think before you start and manage your time. Now, very, very important point in the sense that you're going to have 3 or 15 minutes. I'll show you the entire paper and you will realize that the length of the question itself is so long, and then writing answers for it. How are we going to manage time? So when you are writing, whatever you're writing, it has to be correct. So whenever you start writing, think what you're going to write. Don't write random things and then think you are going to delete it and write something better again. Whenever you're writing, think before you start. All right. Pay attention to the number of marks available. Okay. So one more important tip that you're going to hear from me a lot of times during the classes is that follow the rule of one small paragraph per mark. Okay. This is like, that some tip which is relevant for you in other exams also. One paragraph per mark, and each of those paragraphs will comprise of 1 to 2 sentences only. Okay, 1 to 2 sentences per paragraph, because when you look at the model answers in the books now, you will see that they are very long. See, they are very long because they want to give you ideas so that you start thinking big. Don't think that you are going to be able to replicate such answers in the exam. It's impossible. You have to know the concepts. Your mind should be open, wide, like, yeah, I know all of these things, but I will write whatever seems fit for the scenario asked in the question. So when you're writing, write in small paragraphs, 1 to 2 sentences per paragraph. That's it. And that one paragraph will help you get 1 mark relevant for that question. So pay attention to the number of marks available. If you write excess, you are eating away the time which you should have given for the next question. If you are writing less, you will definitely get less marks in this particular question itself. So how many marks are available? According to that, you're going to decide how much you are going to write. Okay. So if it's a 5-mark question, you will write in 5 small paragraphs with 1 or 2 sentences per paragraph. That is it. Pay attention to the number of marks available. This provides you with a clear indication of the amount of time you should spend on each question part. Okay. Use your exam time effectively. The questions may contain a substantial amount of information that you will need to sort out and apply properly, and you should plan your answer before beginning to write it. Okay. So what you will have to do is manage your time properly, write in effective way, okay, such that you're not wasting the precious exam time. And one more thing which you are going to see a stark difference between CA exam or any other professional exam which you have qualified and ACCA is that the length of the questions. Questions have so much information given to you. You have to be very alert when you are reading those questions. I'm going to teach you how to read questions also. Because what happens now, students, they will start reading it like a story. You can't afford to lose your precious time reading a question like a story. You have to be very alert that this is an important point. I need to pick this up. It will be relevant for me when I'm answering the question. Okay. So this is also a habit which you'll have to develop. Okay. So it's good that you are aware about it from the very first class, because when you see the real questions, you're going to see the length, and then you are going to get afraid. So know it that the questions are going to be long, but you have to be alert enough to pick up the important things and be able to understand that yes, this is going to be relevant for framing the answers. Okay. So now we come to the exam pattern. Most of the things you are already aware by now. It's going to be a computer-based exam. It's going to be for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Pass mark is 50%. All the questions are compulsory. There are going to be 3 questions, and I'm going to tell you the format of those questions also now. All questions are compulsory. Questions are scenario-based. So they will develop a story around the question first. So that is a scenario-based question. And you have to adopt the role of a senior financial advisor. Like you're the advisor to the CFO, you're the CFO yourself. So that is how the questions are going to be framed. Okay. I'm sure you know all of this by now with the discussion we just had. Okay. Now comes the format of the exam. Format of the exam, as I told you, there are going to be 3 questions. Question number 1, 2, 3. First question is going to be of 50 marks. Second and third questions are going to be of 25 marks each. That adds up to 100 marks, 50 plus 25 plus 25. Now, out of this total 100 marks, 20 marks will be professional marks. Please tell me, what do you know about professional marks? Or if you don't know at all, what do you mean by professional marks? Anyone who is aware? Akash is saying 5 professional skills. No. 5 professional skills. All right. So there are now 4 professional skills. Okay. Shiva says professional judgment. No, Shiva. This is something specific to ACC exam. Then Ikta says professional marks are awarded based on the way of writing and the answer. And we don't have to write additionally. Yes, that you are right, Ikta. So everyone, those of you are aware and not aware, please listen to this very carefully. 20% of your marks, 100 out. See, imagine the focus of the CC exam on this. 20 marks out of 100 marks are professional marks, and they are going. I have specific slides on this. How are you going to earn them? You're not going to write anything extra to get this mark. It is going to depend on how you are writing your answer for the remaining 80 marks. Okay, so this is very important information, and this has undergone a change recently. Earlier, out of 100 marks, only 4 marks were for professional marks. Recently, I mean like in September 22, if I'm not wrong. September 22 or June 22, maybe like that. So in one of these attempts only, it was changed. That now from 4 professional marks, you are going to have 20 professional marks, which is like a big jump. So you have to know how to earn these marks. It's very crucial to pass. Okay. So all the topics are examinable. Like as I told you, none of this or like any particular topic which is favorite for the exam. All the topics are examinable. There are 2 topics which are definitely going to be asked. All the topics can be asked, but this two will definitely be asked in the exam. And that is section B, advanced investment appraisal. Okay. So here you're going to appraise investments like calculation of NPV and IRR. It is covered in chapter 3 to 7. And then there is treasury and advanced risk management. Very, very like my personal favorite chapters. Calls, puts, futures, everything. So all of that gets covered here in section E. And this is covered in chapter number 11 to 13. So there will definitely be questions on these two topics. Investment appraisal and treasury and risk management. Okay. Attempt in any order in which you are comfortable. Okay. So there will be question number 1, 2, 3. Since it's a computer-based examination, obviously the examiner will not know which one you have attempted first. Like when you write physically, if you're attempting question number 4 first, you have to write answer to question number 4 first in that physical paper first. And then you write in whichever order you write. But in CBE, you write in whatever order you want, the examiner will not even know. So why this point is relevant is attempt in any order in which you're comfortable is always you should start with the topic which you're absolutely confident about. Like it's your favorite topic. If it has come in the exam, I'm going to write that answer first. So first favorite, then next favorite, then least favorite. That is the order in which students are recommended to answer. So that when you have written the best answer first, you are going to assure you yourself get assured that yes, I'm going to get at least 40 marks out of these 50 marks. So that assurance is very important for the positive thinking during the exam. So attempt in any order in which you're comfortable, and repeating again that read the requirement carefully. Whatever is asked, to address that properly. Okay. Any doubts in the format of the exam? So exam duration will be of 3 or 15 minutes. And you will be given 15 minutes before that just to go through the instructions. Okay. 3 or 15 minutes will be totally for your reading the questions, writing, whatever you want to do. It's not segregated that first 15 minutes you have to read the questions, then 3 hours you have to write. Nothing like that. You can start writing from the first minute of the 3 or 15-minute duration. It's open to you. But before that, they will give you some reading time for instructions, not the questions, all right? So that you can use to, see how you have to write answers in the computer-based exams, which you will be knowing already by the time you go for the exam because we would have practiced a lot. So are you with me so far? Any doubts? Anything you want to know? Can I move to the next slide? Okay, great. Now comes the professional skills. So there are 4 professional skills: communication, commercial acumen, analysis and evaluation. Earlier, these 2 skills used to be separate, and that's why I think you mentioned 5 skills. And finally, skepticism. Okay. So first, let's go through communication skills. Now, as I told you, if you look at the format, question number 1 is a 50 marks and it has 10 professional marks. And you've got 4 professional skills total. In question number 1, please remember this. In question number 1, all the 4 professional skills will be tested. Okay. In question number 2 and 3, minimum 2 professional skills will be tested. It normally goes up to 3 only. They'll never test all the 4 professional skills in question number 2 and 3 because communication skill is testable only in here. So there are 4 professional skills, right? Communication, commercial acumen, analysis and evaluation, and skepticism. So this communication skill, it is relevant only for question number 1, which is of 50 marks. Okay. So what does the communication skill mean? To express yourself clearly and convincingly through an appropriate medium. while being sensitive to the needs of the intended audience. Very simple. You should know how to communicate your thoughts properly. See, when you are in the professional setup, I'm telling you by experience, you might be a rank holder CA or ACCA, or you might be like a generally qualified CA or ACCA. But what makes the difference is your communication skills. I mean, nothing beats that. Your way of writing emails, how you are empathetic towards others. Everyone can be aggressive, but how to be empathetic and get the work done. That is what sets you apart in the professional world. So ACCA is like practically preparing you for that. I'm not sure any other exam does that, but ACCA lays its focus on communication skill, and it is mandatorily asked in question number 1. Okay, you'll be writing reports for the senior leadership. Definitely, when you practice that, you are actually getting aware about what you'll have to do in the practical world. Right, so communication skill, very very important. This topic is 20 marks is just on these 2 slides. I'm not going to come, this is not going to come back anytime later. So very important slides. Communication, to express yourself clearly and convincingly through an appropriate medium while being sensitive or empathetic to the needs of the intended audience. What you have to do to get this professional mark? What you have to do is inform the target audience using a clear format. I'm going to tell you what all you have to, what are the prerequisites of the format of the answer of question number 1. We'll have those discussions later on. So you will be using a clear format. Then next is logical argument. Don't just state facts for the sake of it. You should have a logical backing, that why are you saying that? Why is your recommendation this? So always convince. Persuade means what? Convincing, right? So convince with logical arguments. Then use of technology. Technology means, of course, when you're using Excel and Word for writing your answers, you're using advanced versions, right? So you are using technology to communicate. Okay, emails. Gone are those times when you used to write letters. So of course, you have learned the new technology of writing emails, right? So that is what is getting covered under communication skill. Then next is commercial acumen. Commercial acumen, when I told you to read Student Accountant, what did I tell you? It will have articles on the financial world. So when you read that, you develop commercial acumen. Number 1. Number 2, when you will be practicing all of the questions from the PR kit, each one of them talks about this different situation altogether. Some will be, a company which is in the oil and digging sector. Someone will be in accountancy, will be an accountancy firm. N number of industries each one of the question is going to talk about. And that's the beauty of the PR kit. You become you develop that commercial acumen with the practice. Each one of the question will be talking about a different industry altogether. Someone will be in a transportation industry, someone will be in education. So you develop that commercial awareness with the reading of these PR kit questions and solutions also, of course. So what does commercial acumen meaning? What does it mean? To show awareness of the wider business and external factors affecting the business, and use commercially sound judgment and insight to resolve issues and exploit opportunities. Okay, so what does it mean? Awareness, basically commercial acumen is awareness of the business and external factors. So you should be aware what is happening. How many of you are aware about the Silicon Valley Bank thing which happened just yesterday? Let's see your awareness. How many of you are aware? What happened yesterday to Silicon Valley Bank? None of you? Yes, so what it has done is $21 billion of its bonds it has sold at a loss of $1.8 billion. It's the 15th largest bank in the United States of America. And for your information, it is larger than the largest bank of India. Can you imagine? So it has wiped out its loss, which I'm mentioning now, $1.8 billion. This loss is more than the entire year's profit of that bank in the last year. So they are like, just they don't have enough liquidity. So banks are collapsing. Such an important point for you all. So get yourself aware of these things. Follow financial news. You can use Twitter. Follow good handles. You will learn about these new things which are happening, or economic times. Get yourself aware about these things. So interesting. You learn about so many things when you hear about these types of things. Okay, so commercial acumen, make yourself aware of the recent happenings. So how will you earn marks for commercial acumen? Provide practical consideration. That what you're suggesting is practical. Don't give some off the hook suggestion in the answer that seems impracticable. So whenever you're giving suggestions, make sure that they are practical. If there is a constraint in the implementation of a particular strategy, you should be able to highlight that yes, there are some constraints, there are some limitations in the implementation of this proposal. So you have to recognize those constraints. And then next, awareness of alternative opportunities. Very, very important that you should be aware that yes, one of the suggestion is this, otherwise you would have done that also. You will learn this only with practice. Even I cannot tell you the alternative to every damn thing in the world. So when you read, when you practice the questions, you will learn that yes, if in the answer I could not, the situation doesn't allow me to implement this suggestion, this could be an alternative. Okay, so awareness of alternative opportunities to those suggested. All right, so communication and commercial acumen. 2. Third is analysis and evaluation. To appraise the information objectively and to draw logical conclusions, recognizing the impact on relevant stakeholders. So who are the stakeholders of a company? Tell me. Who are the stakeholders of a company? Give me examples. Give me examples of stakeholders. Acca says creditors, debtors, Akash says shareholders, management, employees, Acca says regulator. Very good examples there. I believe we have covered most of them. Government, okay. Then environment, then the society, where the public, general public, they are also stakeholders somehow. Maybe not direct, but they're indirect stakeholders. So creditors, debtors, shareholders, management, employees, very aptly covered by you all. Very good. So when you are being tested for this skill, okay, so what will happen? I'll show you also in practically in a question also, that the question will mention that you're going to be evaluated, that you're going to be marked for these skills. One of them might be like analysis and evaluation. So here you have to, give the conclusions, whatever you have inferred from the situation, and then you have to assess the impact of this on the relevant stakeholders. Okay, so how will you earn the marks here? You have to explain the meaning of the data which is given in the question, assess the impact on the stakeholders. So these stakeholders will be mentioned. It will not be a general thing. You have to mention about all of these stakeholders. No, you will have to understand from the question that yes, in this scenario, these are the relevant stakeholders. So you'll have to assess the impact of your conclusion to these on these stakeholders. Okay, and not just on the stakeholders, but also on the company as a whole. So that is the skill of analysis and evaluation. And finally, we have skepticism. I believe when we start off our journey as finance professionals, we develop this ability some like automatically, you know, questioning attitude. How many of you have done audits in your professional journey so far? Audits, how many of you have done? How many of you have done audits? None of you have done audits. What happened? Okay. So what happens when you go on audits? You are given with a lot of supporting documentation and everything, and then you ask the management, why was this amount spent on travel? Who all went? Where, I mean, the food bills. So you have that questioning attitude, right? That whether the information which is presented to you is true or not, whether it is suitable for the company or not. Okay. So skepticism is having a questioning attitude. So what will happen? How will it be relevant for your curriculum? I'll tell you. So questions will say that the managing director, I'm just giving an example, okay? So the managing director believes that this is what should be done. Then, and if the question is evaluating you on your skepticism skills, you'll have to mention that why is it? Why? With logical explanation and everything. Why is that managing director not correct? If someone is saying something, you don't accept it on its face value, right? Like when I am telling you something, I am showing you that yes, this is the supporting backing for it. This is the examining team, this is how they mark you. I'm just showing you all of that. It means what? That there is a logical reasoning behind it. But in questions, you will see sometimes random comments being made by random people of the company. That is being done intentionally in the question because they want you to exercise that skepticism skill. That what that person is saying, it may not be correct. And you have to justify why it is not correct. Okay. So that is the skepticism skill, to probe, question, and challenge information and views presented to you, to fully understand the business issues and to establish facts objectively, without having any persuasion towards like any belongingness to any person or an alternative, based on ethical and professional values. Okay. You have to question the validity of approaches to earn this mark. Whether the approach which is taken by a managing director, for example, is that correct or not? You have to question that. You have to challenge the opinions. And if you feel that the information, very important point, very important, sometimes it might so happen that the question will not give you adequate information. So you will have to call it out in your answers, that it would have been more prudent to to conclude on this, provided this information was available to us. So you have to make the examiner know that yes, you feel the dearth, the unavailability of this particular piece of information. Had this piece of information been available, our answer could have been different. The assumption which a particular team has made, is that correct? That is the type of questioning attitude you will have to develop. This class is very, very important. This class number 1 is very important for all the classes that we're going to have. Okay, because what I'm telling you in this class is going to be relevant for each one of the chapters. So make sure you are aware about these things. You retain these things in your mind when you are practicing, when you're reading answers. Because when you are doing that first round of practice, very important, listen to me. When you are doing the first round of practice from the PR kit, and when will that be? When you're going to solve the homework questions. I'm telling you an exam tip here. When you do the first round, highlight the important lines in the book. Okay, when you're studying, use a physical book. Okay, I mean, I have not been able to adapt as much to the learning bit when I'm using ebook version. So make use of a physical book, and even the slides you can take printout. So whatever slides I use now, I will share it with you. So I share it with the VGLD, I mean the administration team, and they will upload it on a drive for you. So you will get these slides for downloading. I also use Excels for showing you calculations. Those Excels also you will get. Whatever you are seeing in the class, you are definitely going to get them. And so if you feel like you can, study online, again, depends from person to person. If you're comfortable with ebook version or these slides, you can go with that, or you can take printout also. So coming back, what I was saying is, when you are doing the first round of revision first round of practice from the PR kit, highlight the important lines. And in that question, what you found starkingly difficult, some calculation or some answer that you will not be able to do if you don't read it again, or if you don't solve it again. So those things, put a marker, I'm just forgetting that highlighter tags which you can put, right? Just write on this that this calculation is important, I need to revisit it. It's very much relevant, because when you look at the length of the PR kit, it's very big. There are a lot of questions for practice. So sometimes the students, they're not able to come back for the second round. Although I would suggest second round is very, very important. Complete second round of revision of the PR kit is extremely important to pass. But some of you work, and some unforeseen circumstances can happen, and you don't get the time to revisit the PR kit completely. In that time now, these markers, these highlights, it will save you. So right when you are starting the practice with me during classes, make sure you underline the important things, you put the markers wherever needed, okay? And you are well prepared that yes, whether or not I get the time for the second round, I will definitely revisit these questions. And or like, if you are doing a very well prepared preparation for your exams and you get the time for the second round of revision, see in the second round of revision if you could solve it completely on your own this time. So follow this tip right when you're starting off. When you are starting off with the first round of revision, mark the important lines in the answers, highlights the things which you could not solve on your own, and you need to relook again so that you can answer it if it comes in exam. Okay, so yeah, so these are the 4 professional skills. What are they? Communication, preparing reports properly. And now I'm telling you one-liner. Impact of it: communication is preparing the reports properly. Commercial acumen is awareness of the financial world. Third is analysis and evaluation. Analysis and evaluation is assessing or giving logical explanations and assessing the impact on the various stakeholders of the company. Skepticism is questioning attitude, whether whatever assumption has been taken, is that right or not. So that is the type of attitude which you'll have to reflect here to get the total of 20 marks. Okay, so as I told you already, all of the professional skills, okay, just let me highlight it here also. All of the professional skills will be examined in section A. Okay, which is a single 50-mark case study. 10 out of the 50 marks will be allocated to demonstrating the professional skills. Next, section B will consist of two compulsory scenario-based 25-mark questions. Each section B question will allocate 5 marks to professional marks. So 10 marks in total will be available. And they will test a minimum of 2 professional skills. What I've already told you. minimum of 2 professional skills. Question number 1 will test all the professional skills. Here they will test a minimum of 2 professional skills from analysis, skepticism, and commercial acumen. Communication skill will not be tested in section B. All right. So on that note, let's take a small break now. It's 12:16. We'll catch up at about 12:36. Okay. Take a small break, eat something, take a little walk, and see you after the break. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back from the break. Let's continue our discussion. So we have covered the examining team's guidance, then exam format, what all you need. Next topic which we have is the exam success skills, which are important for your exam writing. Okay, this is the last topic from our introductory slide. All right, but it's a long one, so be very, very attentive. We are going to talk about the skills which you will be needing when you're solving your questions from the PR kit. Okay. So first of all, first exam success skill is the skill to manage information. Okay. So let me highlight it also 1 second. It's about managing information. As I've shown you also that the questions are very lengthy. Let me show you the exhibits also. The earlier time I've just walked you through it very fast. So have a look at the length of the question. So requirements, I had shown you requirements are specific questions which you have to, respond to in the response options. But what is the scenario behind that? Okay. So this is the length. First exhibit. Okay. All this information is given to you. Then received from Lothal, second exhibit. This information is there. Spans across a few pages. Then have a look this. So so much information will be given to you in the exam. So you need to learn the skill of managing the information. As I've told you, we will not be delving into story reading of the questions. We are going to learn the habit of picking up the relevant information, right? Being attentive of the information when we are reading the questions directly, correct? So that is the first skill which you need to develop when you are starting your course for AFM, the skill of managing information. Questions in the exam will present you with a lot of information. The skill is how you handle this information to make the best use of your time. The key is determining how you will approach the exam and then actively reading the questions. Okay, so what is the advice on developing the skill? To avoid being overwhelmed by the quantity of information provided, you must take an active approach to reading each question. What do you mean by active approach? That you read it with an active mind, not like, a lot of information is there, I will read it again. Exam is of a very limited time. Okay. So you can't have the pleasure of reading, getting the time to read the question again. So to avoid being overwhelmed by the quantity of information provided, you must take an active approach to reading each question. Very important. So an active approach is needed. Active reading, what does it mean? Means focusing on the question's requirements first. Now, just make yourself, get into this habit. Whenever you see a question, like whenever in any of the ACCA papers, read the requirements first. what happens when you read the requirement? Like when you start off with a question paper and you pick up any question for solving, read its requirements first. Before reading the scenario, read the requirement first. And this is something we are going to follow in our classes also. If I somehow start reading the exhibits, you are the ones who are going to tell me, ma'am, please read the requirement first. That's much necessary. I'll tell you why. When you read the requirement first, you realize that yes, this is the type of requirement which I'll have to address. Okay, you become aware of the requirement, and then when you read the exhibits meaning the scenario, when you stumble across that paragraph which would be relevant for this answer, your mind starts taking notes that there was a requirement on this part of the exhibit. I should be alert, I should highlight things here, and this information will help me to frame answers for the requirements. Got it? So active reading means first you will be reading the requirement, so that when you read the exhibits next, your mind starts taking notes that yes, this part will be relevant for answering this requirement. Okay. So focusing on the questions requirement first, highlighting key verbs, which I've already told you, explain, calculate, describe, discuss, to ensure you answer the question properly. Then when you have an understanding of what the question will require you to do, read the rest of the question. Very important skill. Develop this habit from day one. So what it says is, I'll just highlight that. Requirements first. Okay. Then you will have to then read the rest of the questions. Okay. Highlighting important and relevant information, making mind notes of any relevant technical information you think you will need. Now, I'll tell you some trick here from the practice platform. Come here, see. So this is the type of exhibits which you will be reading. The founder company will choose the more financially beneficial hedging instrument to hedge the cash received from Lotel. Once the cash has been received, now I find that this is important. Once the cash has been received in 4 months' time, on May 1, and exchanged into dollars, it will be invested for a further 5 months before the cash is needed elsewhere. You don't understand the relevance of it now, but let's say this is a very important statement. What I will do is I will select it from the exhibit. Okay, Control C. Control C is copy it. I'll come to the word processor. I'll press Control B. Okay. So what you can do is when you're reading questions and you feel that this part of the exhibit will help me in answering a particular requirement, just copy that part and put it in the answer script. So that, you can change the language, whatever you want, but you know that this is a very important information. And if I want to retain it, let's just copy and paste it here. When I'm drafting my answer down now, I will have reference of these important statements above. Or maybe I can just copy paste the thing into my answer, and then blah, 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 whatever I want to write. Are you understanding? So you have the functionality of copying and pasting in ACCA exams. Okay. So sometimes there is Excel also provided as exhibits. All of these are text, but sometimes Excels are also provided as exhibits. You can copy the contents of that entire Excel in your spreadsheet. Can you imagine? You don't even have to make tables. Let me see if any one question has got Excel exhibit. None of them have Excel exhibits, but sometimes they also have them. So you can copy that entire Excel in the spreadsheet and then you can do the workings. So the formatting or the table, everything that gets copied pasted. So that's the beauty. You get to save so much time when you're writing in a computer-based examination. Okay. So that is the first skill you need to have. Read the requirement first, and then you read the exhibits, and then when you're starting to write the answers, finally read the requirement again so that you address the requirement properly. Okay. Next exam success skill is correct interpretation of the requirement. I've told this to you a lot of times. What is the question verb? You need to have a correct interpretation of that. Okay. The active verb used often dictates the approach that written answers should take. Like explain, discuss, evaluate. It is important you identify and use the verb to define your approach. The correct interpretation means that you write only what is asked for, like I've already told you. So how do you develop this skill? As I've told, you read the requirement first. Now, when you read the requirement, you take note of these question verbs. Very, very important. Each of the question verb and what is required of you when you see that question verb is given here. Okay. So very important topic this is. Just let me highlight that as well. First one is, if the question starts with advise the company on blah, 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 what should you write in your answer? What is the requirement? Okay. It is, one second, I'll just highlight all of them together. Yeah. So advice, it requires you to provide someone with useful information or to tell them what exactly they should do. That is the meaning of advice. Okay. Tell them what you think they should do. Okay. Next is analyze. What do you have to do under analyze? It requires, so if a question is starting like analyze this situation and blah, 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 what will you write in your answer? It requires to break an issue, like analysis means what you break down things and then you study them in more detail, right? So what you'll have to do is to break an issue into separate parts and discuss, examine or interpret each part. This may require you to give reasons for the current situation or what has happened. So you'll have to give the reason. When you analyze, you will have to give the reasons of why something has happened. Okay. Give reasons. Next is apply. Here you will have to apply a concept. So maybe you have to apply the concept of Black-Scholes model. Okay. This one is simple. You have to apply a concept to the scenario, which will be, they will try to make it clear to you that this question requires the application of this particular concept. So you will, this one is pretty simple. Next is assess. What do you mean by assess? Judge the importance or estimate the nature, quality or significance of an issue. So you have to understand, write that whether this issue is important or not and how it will impact the different stakeholders. Next is discuss. Here you can just write about the pros and cons. Okay. See, very, very important is like when you are drafting your answers now, if you are able to address this properly, you will get the brownie marks. See, for example, just imagine the question is asking you to advise and you start discussing the pros and cons. Tell me, will you get marks? I will not give you marks here because they will just see that you're not addressing the requirements properly. So what is asked, only that you should answer. Okay. The next question verb is estimate. Estimate is going to be a calculation question. So here you'll have to calculate any value. Okay. Calculate. An approximate value to be specific, right? Based on reasonable assumptions and explaining those assumptions where appropriate. Next question verb which could be asked is evaluate. So here what you need to do, a balanced discussion of an issue, looking at both the positive and negative issues. This is similar to discussion, right? Because in discussion, what did we study? Debate and argue about the pros and cons of an issue. Similar to that, you have evaluate also. You have a balanced discussion around the pros and cons, the positive and negative of a particular issue, which will be discussed in the question. So guys, make sure whenever you're seeing a question verb, like for the first few question practice now, I am telling you something like, as I told you, I'm teaching 4 subjects. This is a struggle of a student in all the subjects because these question verbs, they remain common. They'll tell me, ma'am, we don't understand only what we have to write in the answers. Because then what happens in a book will say something else, they will think something else, and then they feel that they don't know certain things. And in this process, they start losing the motivation that maybe we don't know enough. And they'll feel that I know the concept, but my answers are not matching with the book. How will it match if you're not addressing the requirement properly? The question is asking you to estimate and you do start doing evaluation. You'll not get marks, correct? And that will not be a right answer. So whenever you start practicing in a few classes, refer to these slides. You know, if the question verb is evaluate, read what evaluate means. And with a few practice, like 9-10 questions, by the time you practice those many questions now, all of the meanings which I'm highlighting here, what you have to do in evaluate, all of those things will start coming naturally to you. It's a pro tip for solutions. I'm telling you, nothing beats this. When you have a clear indication what you have to do, estimate. You will do calculation only. You have to do analysis. Then you have to give reasons. You have to break down the discussion. That's the approach you should adopt when you start practicing. When we'll be having homework questions, right? Okay. Next one is explain. Explain is you'll have to give an explanation of the concept, or sometimes they will ask, the CEO is not aware about the concept of interest rate collars. So you will have to explain how a concept is developed. Okay, what are interest rate collars, for example? Next is recommend. Okay, that you have to recommend. This is something like advice. Recommend and advise are similar. You have to give them the advice that what exactly should be the right course of action. Okay. Logical and justified course of action. Is that fine? Please let me know if you have understood all of these question verbs. Any doubt you have, like you're not able to understand any of the question verbs. We are done with the question verbs, okay? This is the first one: advise, analyze, apply, assess, discuss, estimate, evaluate, explain, and recommend. More or less, it will be this only. Then they might ask a different variation. They might write calculate, and that's similar to estimate. Like I told you, recommend and advise are similar. Then evaluation and discussion are similar. So any doubts from this topic so far? Are you able to follow me? So when you read the requirement, so step 1, which I've told you, is to read the requirement, right? When you are reading the requirement, pay attention to these question verbs. Is it okay? Can I move to the next topic? You want me to explain any particular question verb again, ma'am? I did not understand what I have to do under evaluation. Anything of that sort? Is everyone back from the break or not? I'm not seeing any messages after the break. What has happened? Dozed off? Or awake? Ekta is awake. Just kidding, everyone. I hope you have understood. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Okay. Okay. Step 1 was read the requirement first. Then the next step is read the rest of the question. So when you have read the requirement, now you go to reading of the balance question. So read the rest of the question, and then you read the requirement again. That is the step. So now when you will read the question, you will have a better idea of what your mind should pick up. That active reading part, remember? So when you will be reading the question actively now, your mind will pick up that yes, this part of the exhibit will be relevant for answering this requirement. Okay. And then because you have to answer the requirement very closely and accurately, you read the requirement again. Okay. And frame your answer properly. So these are the steps which you have to develop as a part of the second exam success skill, and that involves correct interpretation of the requirement. Okay. Then next exam success skill is answer planning. Okay. So here, what exactly you have to do now? Again, a tip for exam. See, I told you one thing, that when you start writing your paper, pick up that question first, which you're 100% confident about. Okay, so let's say you're 100% confident about question number 3. So you start off writing with question number 3. Now, within that, you may be more confident about a particular requirement. So let's say you have 3 sub-requirements, A, B, C. Within that, you have more confidence in requirement B. So you can start off with requirement B. When you start off writing the answer, then also you should prioritize those arguments which you're 100% confident about, that yes, this argument is 100% correct for this answer. So your priority should be to write the most relevant and correct as per you argument first. That is the answer planning you need to do. Okay. So when you are doing answer planning, you should know that which aspects of the answer you know correctly and confidently. So how do you develop this skill? Everyone will have a preferred style. You will write in a certain way, book will write in a certain way, I'll write in a certain way. So when you prepare that mind map that yes, all of these things I'm going to write. So what you can do is, like I showed you now, if that I find something important from the exhibit, I copy and paste it in the answer. Similar to that, if some random thoughts are coming to your mind, okay, listen to this very carefully. If there is a random thought which is coming to your mind when you're reading the question, that yes, I can write about this. Let us say I'm talking about the M&M model. Okay, so I can write about M&M model in this question. I write it randomly, just scribbling the thoughts. You used to do that in the rough part of the question paper, right? When you were writing physical papers. Here also you can do that. See, there are 2 options available to you. So either you can use the scratch pad. Whatever you write in the scratch pad, it is not going to be shared to the examiner. Okay, this is your property. You do whatever you want to do here. But I would recommend, rather than using this scratch pad, why don't you use this word processor directly? So whatever your thoughts are, the time you're spending in typing this M&M model, at least you can just Control-C, Control-V and start writing the answer, whatever you want to write it around this part. So scribbling also you can do here. And when you're done using those points, just select it and press delete. That's it. So why to go to scratch pad, then come to the answer sheet? Just make use of the answer sheet. Are you able to follow me? So whenever you have, random thoughts when you're reading the questions or anything, when you're prioritizing what I will be writing, the logic and everything, make sure you write that somewhere. It could be scratchpad or it could be the answer response option, your choice, but I would recommend response option. Why? Because you have it in front of your eyes when you're writing answers. Okay. So in a computer-based exam, you may use the copy and paste functions to copy the question requirements at the beginning of your answer. I'll tell you one more very, very important thing. Okay. So this is a part of your Ekta has a question, very, very relevant one. Is it better to go for a center-based examination or a remote-based examination? Definitely center-based examination. There are, when you're going for a remote-based examination and there are some technical glitches and all, it becomes, it creates some sort of a panic. So to avoid that, your first objective or first target would be to go for center-based exam if you're getting the seat. And for that, I would request each one of you, whenever the timelines come, register beforehand. Centers get filled very fast because most of the students, they opt for center-based examination because of the ease of it. If you're not able to go for center-based exam, there's no harm in going for a remote-based examination, but priority would be first center, second remote. Okay, Ekta? And if you need more guidance on this, I'll connect you to the administration team at VGLD. They'll guide you more on this. But as a mentor, I'll tell you to aim for getting a center first. Okay. So yes, this is the requirement, right? Now I'll tell you one very important trick. What I would do if I were in your place, I'll copy this. This is the requirement, right? I have to answer this. Evaluate the financial acceptability of the proposed investment. I'll press even this also. This question part A. Control C. Okay. And now I come to the answer part. The response option, word process. I'll press Control V. I've pasted it. You know what? This will become your heading of the answer. And just change this evaluate into evaluation of the financial acceptability of the proposed investment, right colon, B you have already done, Control U, that is underline. And now you start writing your answer, whatever you want to write. So when you give these headings, they are a cherry on the top of the cake. The examiner understand, actually you should do it. It's nothing like incremental you're doing. You should do this. And you give proper headings and also the relevant sub part, which sub question you're answering here. So that also you should write. And that can be done very easily by just copying and pasting the requirement. Evaluate the financial acceptability. I just changed it. Evaluation of the financial acceptability of the proposed investment. Similarly, discuss, right? Now let's see how I'm going to change it. Control C, come back here. This was B, right? I didn't copy the sub part. So I'll write it. Discuss. Tell me what I would write. I would write discussion with reference to Tom Pando's company's proposed investment. And then there was one more part of it, I, right? And I'll write that, give that heading also. So getting what I'm trying to say, the first one, this will also be a part of the heading only. Discussion with reference to, yeah, here I will write on how real options build on this. These are all exam tips. Start following them from the practice. You'll not forget them and it will become natural to you. When you're writing answers, just give proper headings. Okay, you will notice that in model answers also, that they give headings to each one of the answers. And I'm telling you how to save time there. Copy that part from the question and put in the answer. Okay, so that is the skill which you need to have. You know, planning the answer, writing, that's what is given also. You can copy the question requirements and paste it in the answer. And then you can give headings and everything, and you can just change the format, the grammar of the question. Next, very important skill and like super important for the AFM paper is the numerical analysis. And I'll tell you this as a feedback from my students. After doing the classes, they feel that they're champs in this part. Like numerical analysis, if a question is there, we'll be just closing it like super fast. Numerical analysis, you all do. You will be able to do very well when you have undergone all the classes. But where the students, they feel that they're not very confident is where the theory part comes in. That's because the students also, they don't spend that time when they're reading the, practicing the questions. They'll do solve all the practical parts and they feel that, yeah, we have to solve it. But I am making it clear in the first class itself, you cannot pass AFM just by focusing on the practical part. You have to have theory and practical both. So efficient numerical analysis, it's a must to pass the AFM. And here what is relevant is, what I told you, link the stuff, show the marker where the numbers have come from. Like I was showing you, that addition also you show it to him. Rather than doing that addition on the calculator and hard putting the number, why don't you do the summation there itself? So show the marker, show the examiner that yes, this is the flow of calculation. Okay, this is the exam success skill for efficient numerical analysis. Of course, you need to know the concepts and everything to be able to do it, but this is a prerequisite that you need to learn. Okay, then another thing which I just showed you is clear labeling. Whatever calculations also you are doing, right, you should be clearly labeling it. Okay, to show the marker what numbers are intended to mean. So I'll tell you one example here, which I'll keep on telling during the classes also. So for example, you will see in a lot of questions dollars in thousands, and then it will write revenue, cost, profit, all of that. That writing the dollars in thousands in your answer is also a requirement, because that's a clear labeling. Your examiner should understand that this is what you mean. The NPV is not $4, it is $4,000, because the dollars are in thousands. These are the small tips which you should follow. Okay, so efficient numerical analysis, and this is how you should be approaching it. Right, you show the market whatever calculations you are doing, and you clearly label, give headings that this is a working note. And then you do working note for what? Calculation of the rate of return or calculation of the cost of capital. Then you do the calculation, and then you link this result in your main answer. That is something you need to learn with the presentation part. Okay, when you are solving the main answer, don't clutter it with a lot of workings. Some additional working you can do in a working note below your answer, and you can link it to the main answer. Okay, and that is possible only if you are labeling them properly. Okay, then the next exam success skill is effective writing and presentation. This is on me. I will be showing you when I will be giving you questions for practice, the class work questions. I'll show you that this is the format that you should have followed. These small things will help you to develop that ability of writing and presentation. As I've told you already, for this, start using headings. Okay, use headings for this. Something again I've told you, write in full and short sentences. Right, don't write very long sentences. The examiner fails to understand what you're trying to say. So use headings, write in small but complete sentences. That is your exam success skill 5. That is effective writing and presentation. Your writing skills have to be like on the top. English, proper English and everything, right? Then next exam success skill and the last exam success skill that we are studying here is good time management. I will write in proper Excel what you will have to do here. Just to highlight, I'll just good time management. Keep an eye on the clock. Okay, so come to this part, 1 second. I'm presenting one Excel. Have a look at this. Okay. So as I've told you, 15 minutes of instruction reading time you will get. I'm telling you how to manage time now. So 15 minutes of instruction reading time you will get, and then 3 or 15 minutes you will get for reading the question paper and writing, however you want to use. It's on you. It's not like designated reading time or writing time. This first 15 minutes is only for instruction reading, you know, how to write answers in a computer-based examination and stuff, right? So this is 3 or 15 minutes. Now, that translates into how many minutes? Can I say that is 195 minutes? That is 3 hours into 60 minutes plus 15 minutes. That is 195 minutes you have for this part. And be going slow here. This is extremely crucial to learn the time management that I'm going to tell you about. Okay. So what you should do when you start off your exam, in the first 5 minutes, do a skim reading. Skim reading, you know, like very quickly you just read the exhibits, like not even the exhibits, the introductory part. That yeah, this question is going to test, let us say, calls and puts options. This question is going to test acquisitions. This question is going to test treasury management. So in those first 5 minutes, you do a skim reading, the introductory paragraphs of each question, and understand the topics being tested. And why will we do that? Why do we need to know which topics are being tested? Can you tell me why? Don't read the slide. Tell me why would I ask you to skim read the entire question paper? Think what could be the reason? Why should you skim read all the questions in the first 5 minutes? I gave a hint earlier. Why do you think? Think. Why should you spend time? Yes, it will give us an idea of what topic is being tested. Then what? What do we do with that idea? Akash, what do we do then? Exactly. Very good. Very good. Manan, Sai, yes. Ekta. When you have understood that yes, these all topics are being tested, you will start to know that yes, this is my favorite topic. I'm champ in this one. I will attempt this one first. You decide the order or the sequence in which you are going to attempt the paper. So those first 5 minutes is for skim reading, you know, not even going into the depth. Just that skim reading is to know which topic has been tested. Okay. When you have done that, okay, so your order is decided in your mind now, right? So for skim reading the introductory paragraphs of each question and understanding the topic being tested, and then select the order in which you're going to attempt the paper. So that is how you're going to use the first 5 minutes. So you will be left with now how many? 190 minutes, and you have 100 marks to write for. Okay. So that translates into 1.9 minute per mark. Okay. Now, for a 25 mark question, this is like the Bible of writing ACA papers. Okay. Very, very important what I'm telling next. So you understand that now for each mark, you have approximately 2 minutes. 1.9 is very difficult to interpret. You have approximately 2 minutes to write for each mark. Okay. Then how do we use this? So for example, you have decided that I'm going to write question number 2 first. Okay, that's it. Question number 1 is of 50 marks. Question number 2 and 3 are of 25 marks each. All right. So how many minutes can I give for this? It will be 25 into 1.9. Correct? So that is 48 minutes. All right. Now, in this 48 minutes, how to utilize that 48 minutes, I'll tell you. how will the split look like? This is somehow the split of marks will look like. It's not the blueprint. It can change. It could be like 4, 7, something else. I've just given an example. So there will be 20 marks of technical where you have to really write something, and 5 will be professional marks. Do you have to write anything special to get those marks? No. It's given to you the way you attempt these marks. Okay. So the time which I would have used, for writing this, like 5 professional marks, I will take that time in thoroughly reading the question and deciding in my mind, reading the requirement first, then reading the exhibits, then reading the requirement and strategizing what all I'm going to write in my answers. Okay, so that is the 10 minutes planning time. Are you able to follow me? So 48 minutes is total. Out of that 48 minutes, 10 minutes you are going to use to read the question thoroughly, and then deciding what all I'm going to write in that answer. Just thinking now in this thing, 10 minutes approximately you can take. And then for each of the technical marks, just multiply with 2. This is the time you can allocate for each answer. I hope you have got an idea. So 5 minutes, first 5 minutes skim reading just to decide the order in which you're writing. Then for each question, give some time for reading thoroughly. I'm telling you, you will realize this when you practice more questions. Reading is a skill. You need to do it very thoroughly, otherwise you'll not be able to frame your answers nicely. So take your time in reading properly. So that will be for a 25-mark question. You can give 10 minutes for reading and planning, and balance 38 minutes you will be giving for just writing. That speed you will have to develop, that typing speed please develop with the classes. So that 38 minutes you can allocate just for writing each one of these subparts. And similarly for a 50-mark question, you will have how much? 50 multiplied with 1.9, that is 95 minutes. Out of that, approximately 20. So this what I've done is I've just allocated the 10 professional marks time to reading. Did you understand the logic why I'm multiplying 10 professional marks, 10 marks to 1.9? Why? Because I don't have to write anything for this time. So I can use that time for reading. So I'll take approximately 20 minutes to read the first exhibit very, very thoroughly and planning the answers in my mind. Okay. And then I will start writing properly for the next 76 or 75 minutes. Same for next 25 minutes. 25 marks is similar to question number 1. This is how you are going to utilize your time. So total 195 minutes get utilized like this. 5 minutes for skim reading, 48 minutes each for the 2 25-mark questions, and 95 minutes for the 150-mark question. Please take a moment, absorb this part, and let me know if you are okay. Take 2 minutes, just read, just see what has happened on the screen, and let me know if you're fine with it. If you have any doubts, let me know. And this is the time you're going to now start following when you practice questions. When you're practicing a 25-mark question, just give yourself 48 minutes. Reading time and writing time both included. Keep a simple math in your mind. 1 minute, 1 mark, 2 minutes. 1 mark, 2 minutes. Just multiply with 2. Approximately that is the time you can give for each of the question and each of the mark. When you're done, let me know. No, it's very important. This is something you're going to be following from now on, like for every question you practice. So I logic one time comes. What is reading time? What is writing time? When you're done, let me know. I'll just tell one more important thing about this. Sure, Shiva. Have a look. Others, please confirm if you have understood. If you want me to explain this again, I'll do that. It's very crucial. I'll just do it anyway. I mean, I know the importance of this, so I'll just repeat it. Please listen to me carefully. When you will be starting off your exam, you'll get first 15 minutes for reading the instructions of the exam. That's not relevant to the, I mean, that's not something specific for AFM or anything. General instructions will be given. Then 3 or 15 minutes is the time which will be given to you for solving the paper. It could be reading time, writing time combined. So our suggestion to you is 195 minutes total you have. Out of that, you take out 5 minutes first to skim read the questions. I'll show you how to do that later. Like, it now is not the right time. How to skim read and understand which topic is getting tested. When you have done that, you decide the order in which you're going to write. You have picked up question number 2 first, which is a 25-mark question. Now, for a 25-mark question, you can give 48 minutes. All right, 25 into 1.9. 190 minutes are available for 100 marks, right? So 1.9 minute per mark for a 25-mark question, it translates into 48 minutes. You don't jump into writing into the first minute, right? You have to read the question thoroughly now, because in those first 5 minutes, you just skim read. Now you're going to thoroughly read those questions. So for a 25-mark question, you can take 10 minutes for reading. Okay. And then balance each of the requirements, sub-requirements, 1.9 minute or approximately 2 minutes per mark is the time you're going to allocate. All right. So this is the time you're going to put up for each mark. Then comes a 50-mark question that gives you about 20 minutes to read and balance 75 minutes approximately to write, with the same logic of 2 minutes per mark, and then balance is this much. Now, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it is to create discipline when you're practicing, also when you're writing your exam. I told you a very important statement in the beginning of the class that securing 50 marks out of a 90 to 100 mark attempted paper is easier than to get 50 marks out of a 70 mark attempted paper. I want you to attempt the entire paper. And for that, when you are disciplined that yes, for each part of the question, I am giving it the designated time only, you will automatically save time for the last question. Because all the students, they struggle with completing the last question. But when you are allocating this time per question, per sub-requirement also, you are like, yes, I was, so let's say I start at 10 a.m., right? I will have to complete this by 10:48 a.m. This is what I'll be doing. If I am not able to finish it by 10:48, you know what? I'll realize it now by 10:35 approximately. I'll realize that I'll not be able to complete this paper this question completely. So I'll start to, wrap up the answer as much as possible. Okay. And on 10:48, I will move to question number 1. That is the order I decided. So I'll move to question number 1 now. So at 10:48, let's say I start off this. I have approximately 95 minutes. So that will be what? Approximately 10:50, 10:80, and 12:20 approximately, right? Yeah, approximately this much. 12:20. By 12:20, I will have to wrap up question number 1. So it might so happen that I gained speed by this time. Tell me honestly, you have given exams in your life so far. The speed with which you write in the first hour versus the speed with which you write in the second hour versus the speed with which you write in the last 15 minutes. You know the difference, right? It just, your hand starts moving in a different speed altogether. So maybe I just get that speed, and this was the designated time, but let us say I was able to complete it by 12:10, right? 12:10 p.m. I was able to complete it. So I can come back to this question and complete whatever I wanted to. I had, completed it in a haste. Now I can come back and complete it. And then again, 12:20, I will start writing this paper. I hope you have understood now. When I will start writing, I will have the relevant time for me, and I'll just wrap it up. Yes, I'll be sharing this Excel with you all. Like together with the notes, I will be giving this Excel also. This will be available for you for your future reference when you are really going to write your exams. Before that, this is going to be like your Bible. That this 25-mark question I have to give 48 minutes. Like when you are with me in the class, obviously it will get memorized automatically. But yes, follow this. 10 minutes planning time, 20 minutes. And if you're not able to stick to that, move to the next question. Try to complete that first and then come back to complete if you have left something incomplete. Okay, this is the strategy that you need to follow. Okay, I'll just write it down. The designated time for each question. You create discipline. Try to complete the question in that designated time. If not possible, move to the next question and come back to it later when you have saved some time. Right? You create discipline, try to complete the question in the designated time. If not possible, move to the next question and come back to it later when you have saved some time. Right? So that is the planning for good time management that you need to do. So let's come back to our deck. Okay, so keep an eye on the clock. I started at 10. I have to wrap it by 10:50. Okay, so like that, you keep on moving the cycle. Okay, so that's all from the introduction slide. So what have we covered? Let's just have a quick look at it. We understood the link of AFM with the other exams. What is the aim of the syllabus? The aim of the syllabus is to put you in the shoes of a senior financial advisor who is going to recommend the heads, the leadership of the company as to what should be done in a given scenario. Okay. Then what are the examining team's general guidance? What you should do, like know your stuff, address the requirement properly, communication skills, exam pattern we have now learned. Question number 1, 50 marks, contain 10 marks. Question number 2, 3, they will have 5 marks each. Just excuse me for a moment, please. Yes. So we understood about the format of the exam section, like each of the questions, the marks. Okay. Then very, very important professional skills which you need to know is communication, commercial acumen, analysis and evaluation, and skepticism. Okay. Section A will test all the professional skills. Section B, each one of the questions will test minimum of the remaining 3 skills, and it can vary. There's no rule to it. Exam skills, very, very important. I am making you apprised of it in the first class itself, so that when you are starting off with the practice, you are, geared up in the right way. So you have to manage a lot of information. You have to interpret the requirement correctly. For that, you should know what each one of these question verbs mean. And as I said, when you start for the first few practice questions, now like first 10, 12 questions, make a habit of, just revisiting this slide. If the question verb is apply, then see what exactly the requirement is. And then you start writing your answers. Okay. Estimate and all of that we have done. Read the requirement first, then the question, and then the requirement again. Okay. Then answer 3 years, success skill 3 years, answer planning, which I've told you about how you can do it when you are writing your answers. You can give headings, copy paste things from the question. Numerical analysis, you will learn that along with the class, how you have to do the relevant calculations, show the calculations to the examiner, give proper headings, links. Okay. Then good time management. For time management, I'll give you that Excel to support this. Okay. So with that, let's wrap up this particular introduction slide. And begin. So we have some time. So as I said, the class timings will be till 2:30. So we have approximately 1 hour. Let's do one chapter from the curriculum. Okay, so the first chapter is financial strategy formulation. Very interesting. Okay, so let's begin. First thing which you should know when you're studying the finance paper is, why do businesses work? What is the objective with which they work? The primary objective of any profit-making entity is wealth maximization. You are not working to increase the profits of the company. Very, very categorically, I'm mentioning wealth maximization and not profit maximization is the primary objective of the business. A lot of finance students, they will remain confused that our objective as financial advisors would be to increase the profits of the company, whereas the objective is to maximize the wealth of the shareholders. Tell me, how do you measure the wealth of the shareholders? How do you measure the wealth of the shareholders? Let's see. Don't give me complicated answers. I'm just looking for a one-word answer here. What is that thing you can look at and see that, yes, whether the wealth of the shareholders has increased or remained stagnant or even declined over time? Shiva is saying EPS. How can it be EPS, Shiva? What is the formula of EPS? What is the formula of EPS? Others, please try. Why is there so much silence? It's okay, even if you're wrong, just try at least. Avinash says share price. Okay. Yes. So Shiva, the formula of EPS is total earnings, or can I say profits? The profits by number of shares. I told you profit maximization is not my goal. I need to track wealth. How will I check that? That whether the wealth, everyone please pay attention. I'm not tracking profits. I'm tracking the wealth of the shareholders. Aishwarya, return on capital employed. Again, what is the formula of return on capital employed? EBIT by capital employed. What is EBIT? Again, profits. Akash says, very good. Share, increase in share price plus the dividend. See, when you are a shareholder, okay, let's just have a look. 1 second. Come here, have a look. Okay, so I'm taking ITC. For example, I could have taken any price. So let's just say Wipro share price. Okay. This is the listed entity, correct? Wipro, they are traded on the BSE and NSE, the stock exchanges of India. Now, if you compare, okay, let's have a look at the 1 year graph of Wipro. Okay. At the start of the year, see, it's starting on 11th March 22 because today it's 11th March 23. So what has been the change in the stock price of Wipro? It was 586 rupees per share. Okay. So if I were holding 100 shares of Wipro, my wealth, if I'm holding shares means what? I'm a shareholder of Wipro. My wealth will be how much? 5,86,000. Over the 1 year, it just dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. And it has now reached 390 rupees. Last closing price yesterday the markets were open, right? So the last closing price was 390. What is the value of my those 100 shares? 3,90,000. Sorry, I took 100 shares, right? So 38,900. So from 58,600, it has now come down to 38,900. What has been the return? Has my wealth been maximized? No. It is not giving me any dividend also. See, dividend yield is not available. So for the past 1 year, I've just lost my wealth in Wipro. There is zero dividend yield, and even the market value of the share has declined from 586 to 386. Approximately 200 rupees per share I have lost. Has Wipro been able to maximize the wealth of the shareholders during the last 1 year? No. If I now look at a 5-year graph, definitely there would be an increase. See, 5 years ago, it was at 220. Now it is at 390. Approximately 160-70 rupees it has gained. But if you look at the 1-year graph, it shows that it has, demolished the wealth of its shareholders. I'm sure a lot of you also would be investing in shares. You also would have made profits on some shares or losses on some shares. What are those? You are shareholders. Ideally, when you invest in a company, you invest with the thought that, yes, my wealth, which I'm putting in these companies' shares, will be enhanced over time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. Okay. Now, let us take the example of similar what I was taking earlier, IPC. Now, look at this. 1 year ago, share was at 239 rupees. Today it is at 387, approximately 150 rupees. It has increased. See, 64.25% up as compared to last year. 150 rupees, it's given here only. 150 rupees it has increased and 64.25% return on the share value. And look at this also. There is a dividend yield. I'm sure all of you would know ITC is a heavily dividend paying stock. Okay. So it has increased the wealth of the shareholders, not only in terms of its share price, but also in terms of its dividend yield. Dividend yield is what? The dividend it is giving on the shares, right? That is dividend yield. So it has benefited the shareholder over 1 year. It has given a dividend yield of 3.16%. Look at 5 years, 3.16%, and that's per annum, right? So that's why it's remaining similar. So this has increased over 5 years from approximately 260. It was very low during COVID times. I'm sure all of you would have heard memes on IPC stock that 200 value. Anyone of you who tracks stock market, Indian stock market? Because I'm going to give a lot of examples from the stock markets. Anyone who follows? If you don't, please start following. Oh my God, you are in the finance profession. Nothing beats the excitement of following the stock market. Okay. See, it's not necessary that you have to invest or trade, but at least you should be aware about the financial markets. Recently, you would have heard about the Adani stocks, right? They dropped like anything. I'll show that to you. Wait. So I'll be giving a lot of such examples because see, when you are in finance, you should be knowing about the capital markets, right? Adani Enterprise. So have a look at this. It had a terrible fall. Just look at this. It was at 1796 on 16th Feb, came down to 1193, and now again it has resumed its upward journey. So there was some news, about Adani, and all of its stocks, they dropped, all of them, right? Okay, Adani Green also, if I show you anything. 1 month. See, look at the graph. Like this steep fall came in the markets. Overall market declined because of Adani at that time. So there was a steep fall in Adani Green, and then it went up. Any Adani stock you pick up, it will show you the same trend. It's a V graph, proper V graph that has happened in all of these Adani stocks. Okay. So yeah, coming back, what I was explaining to you, I showed that to you, practically, that what is meant by wealth maximization. Wealth maximization, it talks about the increase, in the share price of the stock, and also the dividend yield, right? What is the dividend the stock pays? Some stocks they pay dividends, some of them don't. So like ITC is famous, Coal India is famous, BPCL is famous for giving out dividends. Similarly, there are companies like Adani, Reliance, they hardly pay dividend. Like even if they pay, it will be very minuscule. So they are not dividend paying stocks. They are capital appreciation stocks. And some are a combination. Some of them pay dividend and then also the wealth appreciates. So wealth maximization and not profit maximization is the primary objective of business. Investors, that means the shareholders and also the debt providers, they care about the future. You know, they are not just concerned. See, profit, it's a very short-term measure. Don't you think? You know, yearly profit, quarterly profit, it reflects what you have done in the short term. But wealth, like I saw, I showed you a 5-year graph, a 1-year graph. Wealth is a long-term notion. Okay, so that is why having a long-term vision is important in a company. In a lot of performance management papers, like if you are going to go for it next, so APM and PM also you will learn this, that overall theme of the question will be sometimes around this only, like how you have to showcase that the long-term growth of the company is to be prioritized over the short-term growth. Because if you are having that hindsight now that only in I can manage my profits in this much for this year, that's the wrong approach. Investors, they care about the long-term future of the company because they have put their wealth in the company, right? They care about what they are getting as dividends. The financing plans. What do you mean by financing plans? Any idea? What do you mean by financing plans? Very good, Akash. Financing plans mean, the split of debt and equity in your capital structure. Whether you're financed by shares, that equity, or you're financed by debt. So your investors, they'll care about it because if you increase the debt so much, you will be highly geared. Is being highly geared a good thing? Is being highly geared a good thing? No. Tell me why. Tell me why high gearing is not recommended. Very good. Very good. Now, let me show you something which we were talking about. Adani, correct? Adani is like famously heavily leveraged. Adani Group is deeply over leveraged. Leveraged is same, like when I say geared, leveraged, they are the same thing. It means that they have high debts. They are heavily financed by debt. Okay. So this was also the news. Adani Group is deeply over leveraged. And then on 10th of Feb, when the fall started, I believe it was that during that time only, Adani, has come under the lens, but blah, 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 whatever that news is. So the idea is to tell you that Adani has got a very high debt in its capital structure. Just see if, they are giving. Yes, exactly. That's the reason. Adani Enterprises capital structure. Let's see if it is available. Notes. Was looking for a split. We'll have to go through the financial statements of the company, but yes, it is very heavily geared, Adani, right? So shareholders, they care about this. When it becomes known that the company has got high debts, there is a risk to its continuation after a certain point of time because debt comes with a fixed interest obligation. Correct? Number one. Number two is that Indian law gives a lot of power to the debt providers. A company can be sued for liquidation if they are not able to settle the dues to the debt providers. You're aware about that? Liquidation. So if you as a company are not able to service your debt, when I say service your debt, it means you are not able to pay your interest and the principal portion on time and fully, the creditors can approach for liquidation to the regulators. Okay, so investors, they care about the long-term growth of the company, the dividend, what they are getting, the financing plans, if the company is going to get into a lot of debts, and risk management. So a business is exposed to a lot of risks. So shareholders, they care about how that risk is going to be managed. All right. So how to measure the wealth maximization? Okay. It is measured as dividend yield, what I just showed you, and the capital gain or loss. So Wipro, there was a capital loss. Okay. And in ITC, there was a dividend yield as well as there was a capital gain, right? 64% plus 3% approximately. So that has been the shareholders' return for ITC. Okay. So this is a small graph of what we have just covered above. Maximization of shareholder wealth. It concerns investment decision, the financing decision. Investment decision means what? Where you're going to put your money. The company, if it is retaining the funds, where it is going to invest. Okay. Financing, how it is going to be financed, debt or equity. Dividend decision means whether it is going to retain the funds or going to pay the shareholders as dividend. And all of this is governed by risk management, because a company is exposed to a lot of risk, and each one of these decisions can be severely impacted if risk is not managed properly. Okay. So we are going to cover each one of these topics in our entire syllabus. Okay. Like financing will be covered later, something like that. So this is very important. Like this is the theme of the entire syllabus: maximization of shareholder wealth. As a company, you should focus to maximize the wealth of the shareholders, because that reflects the long-term growth of the company. Whereas profits, they are short-term measures. Okay, like you all mentioned, EPS, ROCE, these are all profit-based measures. And they just look at the current year profits, which is not the right thing to do if you have to judge the going concern of a company. Are you fine? Any doubts on this slide? And also let me know if you're able to follow me properly. If you want me to slow down some more, I'm open to feedback. Like, again, it depends from batch to batch. If you have any type of like feedback to give that, ma'am, please go a little slow or repeat this, thing like that. Please feel free to share. Is that fine? Let me know. Take a moment, no hurries, take a moment, but let me know whenever you're done. More interactive. Yes, Mona, tell me, so you want to share your thoughts more? Definitely, since the first section which we covered, it was all to give you my views about exam and stuff. So that's sorted. You don't have to worry about it. We'll there's content part of the syllabus. It's going to be more interactive for sure. But the first introduction slide, it's all about what you will be seeing in the AFM paper. Okay. And speed is fine with you all. Are you able to catch up with what I'm saying? Should I slow down or anything? It's all good. Okay, great. Then let's move to the next slide. Okay. So as I said, now there are 4 legs to maximization of shareholders' wealth. First one is investment decision, financing decision, dividend decision, and all of that is covered by risk management. The first one is investment decision. Okay. So investment decision, as I said, it is about whether you want to put your money in fixed deposit, whether you want to start a new business, or whether you want to retain it for the growth of the existing business. That's what you do with money, right? Or you want to pay dividend, that will come under dividend decision. So investment decision in projects or by making acquisitions, you can acquire a new company as an investment, are often seen as the key mechanism for creating shareholder wealth. A very important chapter, I'll tell you. Remember, the introductory slide said there are two mandatory topics: investment appraisal and treasury and finance function. This is one of them, investment decision. It will come later. It's not covered in this chapter. It's just the foundation. That what do you mean by investment decision? That you are investing your money in new projects for the existing company maybe, or you are acquiring new companies. They are often seen as the key mechanism for creating shareholder wealth. But they will need to be carefully analyzed to ensure that they are going to increase the wealth of the shareholders. Okay, so investment decisions, they are to be made with the goal that yes, there will be an increase in the wealth. We will not deteriorate the wealth of the shareholders. That's very simple. Investment decision is putting your money in projects or maybe making new acquisitions, right? Next comes financing decision. So as I said, investment decision will be covered later in the later chapter. So it's just an introductory line that what do you understand by investment decision. Financing decision will also be covered, but we have a few more layers which are discussed in this chapter. And that is financing decision. We understood, yes, that how is the company financed? What is the split of debt and equity in that company? So when we use debt finance, so I asked you, right, why do companies, they want to use debt if it is that risky that your company can get shut down? Why do you want to use debt? The reason why we use debt, the primary reason is because it is the cheapest. Of course, retained earnings will be there. They're cheaper than debt finance, but they also have an opportunity cost to it. So normally to finance the company, you can either go for debt finance or you go for equity finance, that you raise more money from the equity shareholders. Debt is cheaper than equity. Okay. So one of the main aspects of financing decisions is how much debt. So if the split is going to be 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, how much debt? Let me highlight this. One second. How much debt a firm is planning to use. Okay. And whether using debt finance can help to reduce a business's weighted average cost of capital. Okay. So we learn about the calculation of weighted average cost of capital, which you are going to call as WACC. So if we are using debt, then how much debt should we use, and whether using debt is going to reduce the WACC. It's a very interesting discussion. Normally you will tend to think that, ma'am, if debt is cheaper than equity, then if we are increasing debt, then definitely the weighted average cost of capital, which is what? The weighted cost of debt and equity, right? So definitely, if we are using debt, which is a cheaper source of finance, the WACC should come down. But the reverse can also happen. So we'll come to that later. But yeah, so we have in financing decision, we have to understand that how much debt can be used and whether that debt is going to help us reduce the WACC. Okay, that is the core of financing decision. The level of gearing that is appropriate for a business depends on a number of practical issues. So, how much debt we are understanding, how much gearing That is dependent on a number of issues, like number one practical issue is life cycle. Okay, a new growing business. Now imagine startup companies, new growing business. So give me an example of a profitable startup business which is growing. Give me examples. Very good, Zerodha. Paytm is a bit positive. Yes, we can take that. Boat, very good example. Zepto is not profitable, I believe. Zomato is also not profitable. But anyways, you are talking about new growing startups. Okay. Now imagine, keep them in mind when you're reading the next lines. Take any one startup. Okay. A new growing business will find it difficult to forecast cash flows with any certainty. So high levels of gearing are unwise. Now tell me if you've understood this point on your own or not. Keep in mind, any startup, like, Zepto, Zomato, Boat, you said, Boat is now still established only. New age startups, like, can you imagine the companies which are coming in Shark Tank India? They talk about like a 25x growth, 30x, 100x growth. Do you think it is easy to forecast those cash flows with certainty? Can they say that with certainty, that I'm going to get a 100x growth next year? It's not. Whereas, now think about a company like Reliance. It has been in business for so many years. It will definitely know with certainty how much cash flows it is going to generate in the next year from its existing lines of business, right? Because they know, they have that experience and they have been in the business for such a long time. As compared to that, new age companies, they will find it difficult to forecast these cash flows because some change, a new competitor, and all of that can just wash away. So if you are in the early stages of your business, then it is not recommended to take high levels of debt. Because what if your cash flows, they drop drastically next year? You will not be able to service the debt, right? So that is why, what are we discussing? The factors which, help us decide the level of gearing. So if you're if you're in the early stages of your business, it is not recommended to have high levels of gearing because you cannot anticipate and estimate the cash flows with a lot of certainty. Okay, so that is reason number one. Reason number two is operating gearing. Okay, now look at this. How many of you you watch Shark Tank? Again, that's a very good platform to learn a lot about finances. Tell me, any one of you is watching Shark Tank? Good, huh? Just like sometimes you can watch. It's a good, nothing harm in it. You learn only. So let me just present my Excel screen. What the second point means. First point, I believe it's clear to you. The life cycle. Second point, operating gearing. Okay. So if any one of you would have watched that episode where a company which manufactures customized bats for cricketers came for raising money. So what did they show? They showed that they have a very big 2,000 square feet store for display of their bats. Okay, like cricketing bats I'm talking about. So they used to make customized bats on the basis of the pressure and stuff. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the company, but yes, there was a company. So when they showed that store on the video, what did the sharks say instantly? Are you able to recover your fixed cost, the rent? And they said, no, we are in losses. What does that mean? So there are two types of gearing. Please understand. Okay. First is financial gearing. Another is operating gearing. Okay. Financial gearing, I hope you all can understand. It talks about debt. Operating gearing talks about fixed cost. Okay. So when you have, so what does the normal P&L look like? We have revenue, correct? Let's say revenue at the rate of rupees 100 per unit. That's your revenue. And you're selling 1500 units. What will be your revenue? 100 multiplied with 1500, right? Okay. Then variable cost at the rate of rupees 40 per unit. 40 multiplied with this 60,000. What do you get? This is the contribution. And then you have fixed cost. Let us say that is 78,000. And that gives you the profit. Okay, that's a simple P&L. Now, all of these, like revenue and variable costs, they will vary as per the number of units. Output is 1500 units. I'll just put it here. Okay. Now, this number, the contribution, that will change as per the number of units. So if I just change it to 400 units, if you just manufacture 400 units, you will have a positive contribution. But look at what happened to your profits. It turned negative. Okay. We were having 1500, right? So let's just reduce it to 1000 now. Still, it has become negative. 1200, still negative. So what does it show? That a drop in the number of units, you remain contribution positive, but your profits become losses. Why does that happen? Can you tell me why is it happening? Why are you having positive contribution but negative profits? What is that factor which is leading to this? Very good, Avinash and Manan. It is because of the fixed cost. Because it will be incurred irrespective of whether you manufacture single unit or you manufacture 1000 or 1500 units. Okay. So why did I give you the reference of that company? Is because that company was having high fixed costs. What are the examples of fixed costs? Like rent, administrative staff salary. They will remain fixed. Then give me more examples of fixed cost. Administration, electricity cost. Yes, so like that. You know, these costs, they will not come down if you reduce your output. Variable cost, it comes down depending on the number of units you're manufacturing, but fixed cost does not. So high operational gearing means what? This is operational expense only. It's not financial expense. Financial expense is interest. Fixed cost is also an operational expense, but if it is high, it reflects a high operating gearing. Okay. Now read the statement again. If fixed costs are high, proportion to total costs, then cash flows will be volatile. You can get into losses very soon. And when you are in losses, will you be able to service your debt properly? You will not be able to, correct? When you have a high operating gearing, you tend to reduce financial gearing. Please tell me, are you able to understand this statement now with the numbers in mind? When you are having a high operating gearing, your profits can turn into losses very easily. High operating gearing means what? Fixed costs are very high in, as a proportion to the total cost. So if you get into losses, you will not be fine. It will be very difficult for you to service the debt. That is why if the operating gearing is high, your financial gearing should be kept low. Similarly, if you are in the early stages of your business, you should have limited gearing because your cash flows are volatile. Please let me know if these 2 points are clear to you. Okay. Next is stability of revenue. What does it mean? Like similar example, if your revenues are not stable, you will not know if you will be able to make sufficient profits to service interest on the debt. So if you are having unstable business, you should avoid debt. So if you are operating in a highly dynamic business environment, then cash flows will be volatile. So high gearing is not sensible. Okay. See, that is also the reason now that startup companies, they don't go for debt finance. You will see them raising money from venture capitalists, angel investors. So they know that their cash flows are not, certain, stable. So if they are not able to make sufficient profits, it's just that the company will go shut. They'll not be put into jail for, like, they'll not be liquidated by, compulsorily by the creditors at least. Investors will definitely lose value if they are not able to run the business, but at least they will not, what do I say? The implications of not being able to service the debt are much more severe than the investors losing money, because you might know actually that when you are putting your money as a shareholder, as per law, you can't, force the company to pay that money back to you. It can go up, it can go down. But when you are providing money as a debt provider, you are legally, the company is legally bound to pay back that interest and principal. So legal rights are there in terms of getting the money back. Whereas with share, what happens? Your company can go bust. Okay, so that is the reason the startups, they go for financing through equity, not through debt. All right. Next is security. Security means not that safe and security wala security. Security means that what you're going to give as a backup. That collateral that you have to give to get debt. So whenever you raise debt, you have to give an asset behind it. So if you're taking a home loan, your home is mortgaged, right? That the bank has the right, if you're not able to pay back your home loan, the bank can come and take possession of your home, right? Similar happens with car loans. Your car gets mortgaged. Okay. So what is this home and car? You are giving that as a security. If you are taking a this commercial loans like cash credit, what is the security you have to give when you are taking cash credit? Tell me. What is the security you need to give? Anyone? Any idea who has done project financing? Yes. So when you are taking cash credit, you give hypothecation of stock and debtors. Okay, so cash credit is normally taken on stock and debtors. Again, if you're taking a term loan for a machinery, then that machinery gets mortgaged, right? So that is the security. So if unable to offer security, debt will be difficult and expensive to obtain. It will be like next to impossible to get debt if you are not having any security to offer. Okay. So that is the practical issue to decide what is the level of gearing you should be having in your company. Okay. So effective financing decision. Again, repeating this, the topic which we're covering here, it's just the setting up tone of the financing decision. We will deal with this in a lot more detail in the chapters to come. Ekta, life cycle, Ekta is saying life cycle and stability of revenue covers the same definition. No, not necessarily. So life cycle, it talks about the number of years you have been in existence, correct? Yes, it talks about, both of them talk about the uncertainty of cash flows. Yes, I agree with you on that point, but there can be different companies which fall in under the definition of each one of these points. So life cycle company, I told you the example of startups. Stability of revenue, startups also fall in this definition, but existing companies, they also fall in this definition. So you would know that there are a lot of companies which have become irrelevant now, which used to be relevant at a certain point of time. So I'll give you example. Cassette. I don't know if you know about it. There used to be music players with that cassette. Those two rounds were there, real cassettes. So they were a reality in one point of time. CDs, yes, CDs and cassettes. Walkman, very good example. So now you're all telling me examples of companies which have now become non-existent. So they were having stable revenues at a certain point of time, but now they're not having any revenues, or maybe they would have just diversified into some other business altogether. There was no stability of revenue for them after a certain point of time. So it can happen to any company. So when a company is going through that phase, existing company, a long standing company also is going through that phase, then also it should avoid debt. Startups should definitely avoid debt because of the uncertainty of cash flows, and existing companies can also, conventional companies can also avoid debt if they are going through a difficult phase. All right, great. So financing decision requires financial planning and control. So what does it mean? In order to survive, any business must have an adequate net inflow of cash. Of course, you might, okay, I'll tell you examples of companies which are profitable, but they might not have cash surplus. Is that possible? Think, is it possible to, be a company which is profitable, but not having cash? Yes. So it is possible because they are not able to realize their debtors. So if you have sold something, you can recognize the profit, but what if you're not able to, realize the money? So you'll not have cash. Giving you one example, right? Maybe you have made a lot of cash purchases, so you don't have that cash inflow, which you need to run the business. There can be examples like that. So what does it say? That in order to survive, any business must have an adequate net inflow of cash. Businesses should try to plan for a positive net cash flow, which is really necessary, because if you don't have cash, it becomes difficult to survive. So plan for positive net cash flows, but at the same time, very important, but it is unwise to hold too much cash. Tell me why. Why is it not recommended to hold cash in your drawers? Tell me why. Why is it recommended that you put your money somewhere rather than like keeping it in your drawer? Because cash does not appreciate on its own. You put your money in bank pays you interest. You put your money in share market, it will appreciate or depreciate, both is possible. But you keep your money as cash. If you're keeping 5 lakh rupees as cash, inflation will happen, everything will happen, but that 5 lakh will remain 5 lakh. It will not change. So it loses that money value, it loses over time. So it is unwise to hold too much cash. When a company is cash rich, the senior financial advisor will have to decide whether to do one or more of the following. What are they? Number one, plan to use the cash. For example, a project investment or a takeover bid for another company. So if you have surplus cash, you can invest in another project or you can take over another company. Then you can, if you don't want to invest in another company, then you can pay out the cash to the shareholders as dividends. Okay, and let the shareholders decide how best to use the cash for themselves. So if you don't have opportunities available for investment, pay to the shareholders. Maybe they will have something. So you can pay the money to shareholders as dividends. Third is repurchase its own shares. Can you tell me what do you understand by this share buyback? First and second, they are pretty simple. You invest. So if you have cash surplus, you can invest it in a project. Number one. Number two, you can pay dividend to your shareholders. Number three is share buyback. Why would a company, or can a company buy back shares? Think and tell me. Very good. So what happens is, and can you give me one example of a company which keeps on doing share buybacks? Absolutely right. TCS has a history of share buyback. Just let me show you something. Look at this. In the last 5 years, they have bought back shares 4 times. Okay, so 2017, it bought back 2.85% of the capital. At what price? 2850. Then at 1.99% at 2100. What it does now, it does not want to pay dividend, it wants to reduce its share capital. So it purchases these shares, it cancels them. Okay, so these shareholders are no longer the shareholders of the company and it pays them back. Why would a shareholder want to leave the company? They are being offered a better price than in the market. So let us say buyback was 2100. Maybe the share price at that time in the market was 2000 rupees. So the shareholder is getting a good deal, he might want to exit. So a company, if it wants to utilize the cash, it can pay money to the shareholders as dividend, or it can pay the money to the shareholders as a share buyback scheme, that the shareholders are able to liquidate their stock at a better price than in the markets. Okay, so they will buy back these shares and these shares get cancelled. Okay, so where cash flow has become a problem, a company may choose to sell off some of its assets. However, it is important to recognize the difference between assets that a company can survive without and those that are essential for the company's continued operation. Okay, so of course, if you're having cash flow problems, you can sell some of your assets, but those assets, they have to be like those assets without which you can continue your business. If you sell those assets without which you cannot operate, you are going to shut down your business ultimately. If you keep on selling those assets which are crucial for your business. So having enough cash is important. If you are cash rich, you can do these three things. But if you're struggling with cash, you can sell assets. You have to be selling those assets which are not crucial for your, if the need comes. Okay. So have you understood? Please let me know. Cash includes bank. Yes. Cash includes bank balance. You're right. Okay. So let's wrap up the class today. It's 2:30. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time, 10 o'clock, and we'll continue this chapter. Okay. Till then, take care. Thanks a lot for attending the class. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.